You know, I always kid Maryland because Delaware, the second smallest state, we share the eastern shore of Maryland with Maryland, but we're close friends. And folks, you know, it's no surprise that he did a hell of a job when I asked him to be commissioner of the Social Security. And the reason I did that is not an ordinary transition for a governor, but I knew, I mean this from the bottom of my heart, I knew we needed someone with some guts, some toughness, who'd fight for every single penny that it needed, that would try to restore the integrity of the system. And to everyone here today, I want to thank you, all of you, very much for this award. It means a great deal to me coming from you, and I mean that sincerely. It means a great deal. You're in the front lines every single day. You're helping, you're advocating for your fellow Americans, Americans with disability. It's a big deal. We talk about what happened in the physical side of it if we didn't have Social Security. Think of what the psychic calm it gives so many people who just don't know where to go, don't know how to traverse what needs to be done, or alone. Last fall, on the White House lawn, we celebrated the anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act. As a United States Senator 400 years ago, I was looking back on it. God almighty, I've been doing this 50 years. It's hell turning 4 years old, anyway. But back in the year 1990, I was the co-sponsor of the Americans with Disabilities Act as a United States Senator. In my view, and I suspect many of you, it was one of the most consequential civil rights laws in American history. That's what got me involved in politics in the first place. Delaware, like Maryland, was one of those states, was a slave state. We had all the vestiges of what was going on back in the day. We were one of those states that still, I remember moving from Scranton, Pennsylvania down to Wilmington, Delaware, and Cole died. My dad moved back to where we could get a job. I remember I pulled into, my mom would drive us on the Philadelphia Pike connecting Wilmington and Philadelphia. And we lived in an apartment complex. And she'd drive us it was only about half a mile to Holy Rosary School in Claremont. But it was so dangerous, she wouldn't let us walk up because of access road. And I remember pulling into the parking lot. And I had never seen hardly any black people in Scranton at the time and I was only going in 4th grade. And I remember seeing the kids going by at the time called colored kids on a bus going by. They never turned right to go to Claremont High School. I wondered why. Asked my mom, why? So in Delaware, they're not allowed to go to school, in public school, with white kids, honey. That sparked my sense of outrage as a kid, just like it does, I mean, and these young kids right here can tell you things affect them. They learn about something that's really just unfair and unjust.
Yeah.
You know, my dad was an honorable man. And my dad used to have an expression. He said, Joey, your job's about a lot more than a paycheck. It's about your dignity. It's about respect. It's about being able to look your kid in the eye and say, honey, it's going to be okay, and mean it. That's what you're all about. That's what the legislation's about. It's about dignity. Simple dignity. Everyone deserves to be treated with dignity, regardless of their standing, regardless of economic situation, regardless of who they are.
He got caps lock.
Making sure that more than 60 million Americans
Caps lock.
who are living with disabilities are treated with dignity.
Dark Brandon.
Is who we are as Americans. That's what it's about. I mean it. Dignity at work, at school, in their communities, in every corner of American life.
Oh, shit.
Laws like the ADA need advocates like you. You're the ones that keep it going, God love you. You fight like hell every single day to make sure the law is respected and your clients' rights are protected. So from the bottom of my heart, I mean this. I give you my word as a Biden. From the bottom of my heart, I say thank you. Thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for your commitment to the dignity of all Americans. Because that's what ultimately this is about. Folks, today I want to talk to you about an issue that's front and center right now for millions of Americans. Social Security. You know, some of you may know, the Democrats have declared today the Save Social Security National Action Day. National Day of Action, I should say. We know just how much Social Security matters to people's lives. Everyone in this room fights for people with disabilities who rely on Social Security to survive. To survive. Not just the physical side, it's the mental side. It's the mental side. You make sure folks get the benefits they earn after a lifetime of hard work. The work they do is more than just a profession. What you do, it's a calling. It's not just a profession. And Social Security is more than a government program. It's a sacred promise. You made it a sacred promise. 73 million Americans receive Social Security. From their first paycheck for their entire life, they pay into Social Security. In return, they count on Social Security to be for them when they're going to need it.
Yeah.
Folks must never, ever betray that trust or turn our backs on that obligation.
Oh, fuck.
That's why during my presidency, we protected Social Security and made it stronger. Martin, the governor can tell you. We came into office, Social Security Administration had its lowest staffing, she referenced it, lowest staffing levels in 50 years.
Why does the staff matter? Shouldn't
The demand.
shouldn't the
is going
effect
through the
matter?
roof because of my generation and the baby boom generation, reaching the retirement age. So the demands on Social Security increased significantly.
You failed.
Our administration secured nearly $2 billion to reduce the backlogs and improve customer service. We slashed wait times for folks in need. We're calling the 1-800 number. We got it down to under 13 minutes. It used to be 3 times that long we took office. Made it easier for people to get help with their claims online. Reduced how long it takes to review a case. We fixed the appeal system to make it uniform in all 50 states, which made a difference. We strengthened the anti-fraud measures to protect people's identities and to make sure benefits are going to people who actually they belong to. By the way, those 300-year-old folk getting that Social Security, I want to meet them because I like to figure out how they live that. Hell of a thing, man. I'm looking for longevity because it's hell when you turn 40 years old. But as a result, by the time we left office, we had improved every single line of customer service, from applying for disability to filing an appeal to reporting fraud. It all became more efficient and more effective. And I'll bet it made your jobs easier, too, in the process. Now, these achievements may not sound so glamorous to most people, but you know,
Yeah.
it's absolutely essential.
Yeah.
In my view, one of the most important jobs of any elected official
Damn.
is to make sure the government works for the people,
Is that it?
works for all people. It's understandable. They can understand what it is. And then we keep our promises to the people, to all the people. That's exactly what we did, thanks to all of you. I also signed into law the Social Security Fairness Act. That act eliminated 2 unfair rules so public employees wouldn't get shortchanged. The government pension offset and the windfall elimination provision can never come in ever again.
Yeah.
But as a result, more than
What?
2 million people are now finally receiving the full benefits they earned. And remember, we also faced a constant threat by some members, Republican members of the Congress, to cut and gut Social Security, period. Cut and gut it, period. They wanted to let Social Security expire every 5 years. That was the proposal. Let it expire every 5 years unless reauthorized by the Congress. Who in the hell do they think they are?
Where do you need me?
Every 5 years and then wait around and be,
Ahead slow. Ready?
Okay. All right.
I will not go further.
That-
and get in trouble.
all right.
Okay, look, folks,
That
can you imagine
Yep.
the chaos it would
we got that one.
Do outs.
Every 5 years,
Wipe
Congress
out
going
an
to step
enemy
up.
colony.
You imagine this Congress stepping up? they threatened to raise the retirement age as well.
Yeah.
Now, that might not be a hardship for someone working in a comfortable job, but if you're on your feet all day, you're doing manual labor all day, you're working with a disability, it's a very different matter.
Ahead slow.
And then they even tried to face cuts, force cuts on Social Security during the negotiation of the debt ceiling. These are wonderful guys.
Short and sweet.
Last time this guy had the job, he raised the debt ceiling
Making your dinner plans.
because of an enormous and profligate tax cut to the super wealthy.
Oh.
And then he said, look, then they started talking to his colleagues. Well, maybe we can do something about Social Security, but we got to do something about the debt ceiling. How are we going to, where we can find the money in Social Security?
Yeah.
Unless we do what they wanted. They wanted to cut Social Security. Not on my watch. We refused to go along with any of that. Look, Americans can always be able to count on these benefits. And let me pause a second and say this.
Yeah.
We talk about the physical needs
You all right?
that
I'm
Social
totally
Security
fine.
provides for people, particularly hardworking people, people retired, people on the edge.
Upgrade complete.
But the psychological impact
Is ready.
is profound.
He's right.
Profound.
Military structure complete.
You're a man or a woman, you're 70s, 80 years old, you're not in good shape, you have a disability, and you hear
Down.
the check may not come.
No.
How do you sleep at night?
Structure complete.
How do you sleep at night?
Scouts have
We
found
lived
a
up in
colonizable
Wilmington in a
planet.
3-bedroom split-level home in a new development, 40 homes, with 4 kids and a grandpa living with us.
He's gonna.
And I remember my bed,
on.
our bedroom headboard was near my dad's, mom's
I'm gonna
room.
X this off twice.
And you could tell when Dad was restless. I remember asking one night my mom, what's the matter with Dad? The next morning, she just found out that that we're not gonna provide insurance anymore where he works. Imagine if you're somebody
We have
who's been
wiped out
struggling
an
your whole
enemy
life.
colony.
You literally count on Social Security to buy your food, just to get by. And you hear the threats about what may happen.
Yeah.
Many of these beneficiaries, that's their only income.
Yeah, of course.
If they were cut or taken away, it'd be devastating. Devastating to millions of people.
He could be the president right now. You know that,
The
right?
psychological pressure we put people under by having this debate is absolutely devastating.
Ready for battle.
That's why we work so damn hard to make Social Security Administration stronger than it's been in years.
Civilian
And that's why I asked the
structure
governor to take over, by
Yes,
the way.
Commander. At once.
But look what's happened now. Fewer than 100 days,
Civilian structure
this
complete.
new administration has made done so much damage and so much destruction. It's kind of breathtaking it could happen that soon. They've taken a hatchet to the Social Security Administration,
A hatchet.
pushing an additional 7,000 employees, 7,000
Good day.
out the door in that time,
How is the value of,
including the
of
most seasoned career
service
officials.
employee size?
Now they're getting ready to push thousands more out the door.
How are you basing it off of how many people are hired?
Already we can see the effects. For example, thousands of people use the Social Security website every single day to check on their benefits and submit their claims.
Old people
But
can't
now-
use computers.
The technology division of Social Security Administration has been cut in half. And so the website's crashing. People can't sign on to their accounts. What do you think it does to that woman's living alone at 74 years checking, just not able to even find out whether she can't even find out what that disability claim that she had. She can't file a new disability claim. And a lot of these people are being told incorrectly that their benefits have ended. Folks, imagine the panic that causes. If you're a retiree living alone with only Social Security to depend upon.
Yeah, sure.
So now people are overwhelming the phone lines.
Oh,
They're showing up at the local Social Security office, tearful and frantic, and told, "Do you have an appointment?" In that tone, by the way. I can give you a personal example if I'm not going to, though. To cap it all off, serious people are now generally concerned for the first time in history, for the first and only time in history, that Social Security benefits may be delayed or interrupted.
uh-oh.
Folks, let's put this in perspective. In the 90 years since Franklin Roosevelt created the Social Security system, people have always gotten their Social Security checks.
Yep.
They've gotten them during wartime,
Yep.
during recessions,
Yep.
during a pandemic,
Yep.
no matter what, they got them. But now, for the first time ever,
They're still getting
that
them,
might
right?
change.
What?
It would be calamity
Civilian
They're
structure.
for
canceling?
millions of families,
Ready
millions of
for
people.
battle.
Wait,
Planet item
are they getting rid of
The current
Social
Secretary
Security?
of Commerce doesn't seem to get it. Or based on his comments, he doesn't seem to even care. Many of you saw what he said the other day.
They're deleting it?
And by the way, he's a billionaire. God love him, as my mother would say. Paying 8.5% in taxes. Anyway, billionaires, I don't know what he's paying. But when he talked about the possibility of the Social Security checks not going out this month,
Yeah.
he shrugged it off. Here's what he said. He said his 94-year-old mother-in-law wouldn't complain, wouldn't bother her. She's probably a lovely woman. No kidding. Her son-in-law is a billionaire. What about that 94-year-old mother?
He's right about
all by
this.
herself.
Biden is right about this.
Doesn't have a billionaire in the family.
All right.
All the retirees who depend on that monthly check to feed themselves.
Yep.
All those people with disabilities have no other source.
Civilian structure complete.
What about all those people?
Well, they haven't canceled it, right?
That's who you fight for. So they should desperately need you.
Commence.
And folks, it's not just the Secretary of Commerce.
Defense upgrade
We're
complete.
I
heard
didn't think so.
how others, empowered and emboldened by this administration,
Yeah.
talk about Social Security. One of them called it a Ponzi scheme.
Oh.
Ponzi scheme?
Oh.
What the hell are they talking about?
Active.
People earn these benefits. They paid into that benefit. They rely on that
Down
benefit.
forces have arrived.
And no one
You got the full weight of
should
a
take it
star
away.
base at your disposal.
Yeah.
You know, Franklin Roosevelt had a different view. He was president coming out of the Great Depression.
Yeah.
He and all his colleagues saw great suffering,
Yeah.
so much
Civilian
poverty.
structure complete.
He also took steps to raise standard of living for ordinary
Planet
Americans,
item complete.
including creating
Ready
Social
for
Security.
battle. Civilian
He himself
structure
was from a
complete.
very wealthy family.
Yes, Commander. At once.
He didn't need Social Security, but he understood how much it would mean to millions of Americans.
Mm-hmm.
He knew it would make America stronger in the process. It has. Makes our economy stronger.
Civilian structure
Makes the
complete.
community stronger.
Yeah.
Makes
Social
families
Security is
stronger.
good.
Logistics
Gives
upgrade
peace of
complete.
mind.
You got the full weight of a star base at
And so
your
the vast
disposal.
majority of Americans, including many wealthy Americans, still support, thank God, Social Security.
Well, yeah,
Very
obviously.
wealthy billionaires still support Social Security.
You missed out.
They may not rely on themselves, but they know
Civilian
They
structure
know.
complete. The item
Social Security deserves to be protected for the good of the nation as a whole.
Start making your
Yeah. Yeah.
This
And you gotta ask yourself,
Social Security is good. That's true. Yeah.
gotta ask yourself, why is this happening?
Oh, oh, oh.
Why are these guys taking aim at Social Security now?
They want a boomer remover.
Well, they're following that old line
Commander.
from tech startups.
Done.
The quote is,
Structure
move
complete.
fast, break things.
They're cruising for
Well, they're certainly breaking things.
Don't have to tell us
They're
twice.
shooting first and aiming later.
Research complete.
As a result,
The full weight of a star
the result is a
base at
lot
your
of needless
disposal.
pain and sleepless nights.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
My friend Governor O'Malley knows what they're really up to. He says, and I love his quote, they want to wreck it so they can rob it. They want to wreck it so they can rob
They're
it.
gonna steal all the money from Social Security.
Why do they want to rob it? In order to deliver huge tax cuts to billionaires and big corporations
gonna
and keep
steal it?
going. They want to make permanent the 2017 tax cuts, which overwhelmingly benefited the wealthiest Americans and the biggest corporations.
More like it. The strength of the
That's going to cost $5 trillion.
Oh,
Where are they going to get $5 trillion to pay for it? They're going to continue to run the deficit.
oh,
the heights of
What will they always do? By winning, by running up the national debt, number one, and then by taking the money from someplace else.
ready
What are the
for
two big
battle.
pots of money out there in raw numbers? Social Security and
Military structure
Medicaid.
complete.
yeah.
Well, from other programs that people rely on and have paid into.
Military structure complete.
Republicans are these guys are willing to hurt the middle class and working class in order to deliver significant greater wealth to the already very wealthy.
Oh,
Our fleet is under
Who
attack.
in the hell do they think they are? I really think they, I mean, just basic decency.
Eradicate
Uh-huh.
those filthy rats.
Who do they think they are? I think anybody should go out, they can make $1 billion a year, they can, fine.
Hey, Commander. Our
Pay your fair
cannon is
share.
pitching for a target.
what?
You know what the average, we have 1,000 billionaires in America.
Comlink active.
You know the average federal tax they pay?
What?
Punch.
8.2%. Anybody want to trade that number?
Who's their accountant?
What you're paying? Close,
Who?
close.
I need to know that guy. Can you?
I'm sorry to go on so long, but just,
Yes, Commander.
anyway.
Our cannon is
I need to
I grew
talk
up in
to
Scranton,
him.
Pennsylvania as a kid, and then Claymont, Delaware.
cruising for a cruise.
Middle-class towns, working-class towns.
Complete.
Places where people worked hard all their lives
Plan.
with the
Military
promise that
structure
they'd be able to
complete.
retire someday
Head slow.
with a little bit of dignity.
A sound plan.
Because they've been paying in a thing called Social Security since the very paycheck they ever earned.
Uh-oh.
These people get knocked down every day,
Ready
learn to get
for
up.
battle.
My dad's one is for you get knocked down, just get up. Get up. They get up every day. The last thing they need from their government is deliberate cruelty.
Is the liberals true, brother? True,
Well, people,
brother.
Americans across the country
We're underway.
who look out for each other.
Good day.
They don't see
Commander.
empathy. They don't see it as a sign of weakness. They see empathy as a decent instinct,
You got the full weight
They
of
don't
a
see
starbase
cruelty.
at your disposal.
as a sign of strength. Social Security is about more than retirement accounts. It's about honoring a fundamental trust between government and people.
Yeah.
It's about peace of mind
Commerce
Yeah.
upgrade complete.
for those who work their whole lives
Gun to a knife
so they can rest assured
Reporting in.
they'll have a chance
Head slow.
Come
to
on.
get
Did he
back
say it?
some of what they earned and what they deserve.
Did he?
More than anything else. I mean this sincerely.
Ready for battle.
And as my friend says, it's maybe it's the Irish of it in me, but
Good day.
it's about who we are as Americans. Who are we? What makes us distinct from the rest of the world? It comes down to basic, in my view, fundamental American values.
Like what?
Our fleet is
Nobody's
under
king.
Pizza.
Nobody's the boss. Everybody has a shot.
Hamburgers.
All people asking for is a shot.
orders.
McDonald's.
Honesty.
How
Decency.
can I be of service?
Where hard work is rewarded.
A sound
Have some faith in each other. Fairness. Simple fairness.
Jesus Christ.
We can't go on like this.
Oh,
as divided
God.
nations, divided as we are.
Come on.
Like I said, I've been doing this a long time. It's never been this divided.
commerce upgrade complete.
Granted, it's roughly 30%, but it's a 30% that has no heart.
Good day, Commander.
30%.
What we see in America,
Attention for a target.
that's what we believe in.
Planet item
Fairness.
complete.
Uh-huh.
Where do you need me?
And that's the America we can never forget or walk away from. Folks, I mean this. I know it sounds trite, but I have to remember who we are. We're the United States of America. The United
Military
States of
structure
America.
complete. Civilian structure
most unique country in the history of the world, and that's not hyperbole. Every other nation was founded because of religion, geography, ethnicity. We're the only nation in the world founded on an ocean. We hold these truths to be self-evident,
Complete.
that all men and women are created equal and endowed by their Creator. That's the one thing united us, an idea. Every other nation was because of a purpose. It's an idea.
Yeah.
And how
The
can
other
we
countries
fulfill
are
the outcome,
stupid.
the meaning of that idea? We walk away
We're not.
from just basic fundamental decency.
We have wiped out an enemy colony.
Folks,
Yeah.
sorry to go on so long, but I feel deeply about this. You know, you heard me say it before, and I'll say it again.
An auction is underway.
There's nothing beyond the capacity of America to do when we do it together. Let's do it together. God bless you all, and may God protect our troops. Thank you for what you do, and thank you for this wonderful award. Thank you.
Like, honestly, Trump missed a big opportunity. If Trump was able to live react to this, I think that's what he should do from now on. Like, and I'm not even kidding. Like, literally just film him reacting to these speeches and just talking mad shit. Right? Yeah, Donald reacts.
Starbase at your disposal. A new colony has been founded.
Oh god. It's
Can I
so
do
fucking
oats?
funny.
Our fleet has arrived at a phase jump inhibitor and is now trapped.
It's so
Strength of the
ridiculous.
coalition. Planet item complete. The strength of the coalition. You got the full weight of a starbase at your
I'm
disposal.
sorry. I'm
Civilian
sorry, it's just
structure
too
complete.
much. Joe
Aye.
Biden's been in his
Can I do
first speech.
oats?
Saying to grow up around black people.
Our fleet is under attack.
I've never seen
Military
that.
research complete.
Oh my
Yes,
god.
Commander. At once.
Oh fuck.
Defense upgrade complete.
So, former Concord dev says that it was gut-wrenching to see our project fail, but urges players not to judge Marathon too soon. To call this game a failure before it's even out is wild to me. Really? Well, it wasn't wild with Concord. It was pretty fucking accurate. So, it's actually, like, I think that it's really funny how all these developers and people want to act like it's not fucking obvious when a game is going to die. Like, I'm sorry, but like people were right about, okay, let's just make a list. Notepad. Okay, games people were right about. Okay, number 1, Concord. Concord number 2, Assassin's Creed. Shadows. Okay, there it is. Let me go back. I'm gonna just go ahead and space this out. There we go. And Veilguard, south of Midnight. Forspoken, Starfield, Avowed, Lost Records, Star Wars Outlaws, Dustborn.
Ready for battle.
Like, I mean, nobody cared about that game to begin with, but like, sure, a Flintlock, Unknown 9, living up to its name. People don't even know what game that is. So, how is it that gamers don't, like, how is it that every time that the internet of capital G gamers decides that a game is going to be garbage, it's garbage?
The item
Isn't
is
that
ready.
interesting? How every single time that one of these games comes out and people say it's going to be bad, it's bad every single time. Yeah,
You got the full weight of a
we
Starbase
you have like a 100% success ratio, and the only game on this list is maybe Assassin's Creed Shadows, right? Maybe this one wasn't as big of a failure, but I think it was, especially considering what their projections, I'm assuming, were. Redfall, yes, look at this, Redfall. But how many of these are there? Skull and Bones. It's just insane. I mean, Avengers. From Square Enix, just so people don't get it confused with obviously Marvel Rivals. It's Anthem. No, people didn't really have a lot. I don't remember what Anthem, like the dialogue was around that. So I don't know. Yeah, Saints Row. Here's the thing.
Our shields are down, Commander. The strength of the coalition.
We could keep going.
Civilian structure complete.
Urges players to call this game a failure before it's out is wild to me.
Comlink active.
Well, welcome to the fucking jungle, bitch.
Sweet.
There's precedent for this, and it sure seems like there's a 100% hit rate.
Civilian structure
I'm sorry.
Good day, Commander.
Am I
Ready for
really?
battle.
What are we talking
Sound
about?
plan.
Let's take a look at the art. Let's see what they said. And so I replied to this. I said some games deserve to be aborted. Concord is the reason why I'm pro-choice. Marathon looks okay, but the characters look over-designed and are not visually appealing. That's it. And so I didn't even read any of these comments or anything like that. Game with no dedicated companion should be DOA. Base take Asmongold as usual. Everybody knows that. We're getting pre-banned from Marathon subreddit. I wonder if they'll ever listen to the main player base of these games. What is this here? To me, they look trans too, which is an instant turnoff. If you cannot immediately tell the gender of a character, put the character in the garbage and try again. That's my opinion. If you can't immediately tell. Now, there are, like, I can think of one exception. I thought this was a girl. I did. I thought I had to play as a girl. But it turns out it wasn't a girl, but I was like, oh, it might be a girl. But it's a femboy, which is okay, right? Because but it's a JRPG. So you've got like a special set of rules, okay? But anyway, former Concord dev says it was gut-wrenching for us to see our project fail, but urges players not to judge Marathon too soon. To call this game a failure before it's even out is wild to me. It's wild to you. Well, hey, let's go ahead. This is like an investor in Enron, SBF. No, what's the company that he did? I forgot even what the company was called. It's like, this is like you've invested in Enron, Theranos, FTX, and like this is like an investor who's telling you, wait a minute, guys, no, this one's not a scam. Come on. Yeah, it's insane. Yeah, but Bernie Madoff. Yeah, exactly. And Theranos, pick on that. Yes. A gameplay of Bungie's extraction shooter was excitement for is non-negligible number of gamers who have jumped into the conversation to make unflattering comparisons to Concord. Spurred by these reactions, a former Concord developer is taken to Reddit. Let's take a look at the Reddit post. Hey all, former Firewalk Studios dev here. I've been a long-time lurker for many years and I rarely post anything. But after reading the comments about Marathon being Concord 2.0 on Reddit, YouTube, and Twitch, I just wanted to share a little insight into what a 40-year-old man is feeling after dedicating a large portion to his life for making video games. For the past, well, I mean, he dedicated the last 7 years of his life to comedy, but other than that, yeah, maybe he made another game before that as well. For the past 17 years, I've been part of some great projects and worked on some talented people. Many players knew about Concord and what happened with the project. Concord failed to inspire players and the messages was heard loud and clear. Well, apparently not by Bungie. It was gut-wrenching to watch our project fail and be the laughingstock of many online. Well, yeah, I bet it was. Listen, we all know this, but I'll say it again. I am the most empathetic streamer. So I can understand the way he would feel. I bet it sucked. I do. I bet it sucked to have everybody making fun of you. I could easily see that. It makes a lot of sense. Most humble? Yeah, but I'm not talking about that right now. I can't bring it up all the time because, you know, I am, I mean, kind of like, you know, just how it is. What the fuck are these studios doing? I don't know. But anyway, so I can see that. I understand it. I have learned that failure is what drives me to succeed. Well, then why are you driving Bungie to fail? No one feels as bad as the people who put their time on the line hoping that it will entertain the masses of gamers around the globe. I'm not asking for pity or even sympathy because after all, the name of the game, you win or lose, the margin of success is very thin. I took a chance and I lost. You didn't take a chance. You did not take a chance. You didn't listen to what gamers wanted. You actively went against it. You pushed narratives in games that didn't resonate with your core audience. You did this knowingly. If you ask this guy, who the fuck do you think your audience is? And if he thinks that it's this modern audience type of thing, no, you didn't take a chance, bro. It's insane. Like, this isn't a chance. You just decided to lose. Us gamers are tired of this. Well, gamers have risen up. The prophecy has been fulfilled. The idols are being destroyed. And a new world is being made anew. The Concords of yesterday are history. Yeah, the beacons are lit. The beacons have been lit. Okay? People are tired of this shit. And some of you probably smell blood in the water. Yes. And you probably want to roast me for no longer lurking and exposing myself. No, you made a shitty game. You made a mistake. It's okay. Mistakes happen. Learn from it. That's what everybody makes mistakes. I don't want to roast this guy massively. I've got a little bit, I do. But massively, I'm not trying to roast this guy. Mistakes happen. You fucked up. But man, you really fucked up, didn't you? And the worst part about you fucking up is you don't even understand how you fucked up. That's the problem. It's what I said earlier. If you can't figure out why you failed, you can never succeed. Because you can never reverse engineer why it is that things didn't go right. Why did you put ugly fat women in the game? What were you thinking? Are you retarded? Nobody wants to be that. Ugly fat women don't want to be that. That's why they use anime profile pictures instead of their face. It's not even a question. Well, what are we talking about? This is ridiculous. How's this even a conversation? But you can't say that. You can't say that. And you can't say that because you're still complicit in a lie. I hope you don't. Most people don't create these projects and work very hard to be the next big thing. Seeing the faces of the developers' Bungie stream gave me hope and excitement for what's to come on Marathon. I commend them for taking a chance and trying something foreign to them that isn't proven nor guaranteed to succeed. Yes, because Bungie has never made a futuristic fantasy shooter with laser guns and different planets. This is actually the first game like that they've ever made. So it's a new horizon for them. You know, anything goes, right? Yeah, who knows? Anyway, it takes a lot of courage. TLDR, I worked on Concord and I did my best. We came out short. Please don't punish others for our mistakes. We're not punishing others for your mistakes. We're recognizing the pattern. We're all human beings who are trying to create something special. Well, then do a better job. Marathon is no different. Be kind and cool as video games are meant to be fun. You recognize how nothing that this person did was address any of the criticism that people had or talk about why it was wrong or not wrong. And the reason why is because in the games industry, this problem is the emperor's new clothes. Everybody knows that people don't want characters that look like this and designs that are in this type of perspective or narratives like this put in the game. But nobody in the development community, nobody in the gaming audience, or sorry, the gaming professional space can address this because it's career suicide. And I want to promise you that if you can't address this, it will be career suicide because gamers will kill your game. Every single time. And here's the list. You want to join the graveyard? Then talk around the problem. I hope you do. It's better content for me. I'll make money. The only person who wins here when you lose is me. The dogpiling is real? Absolutely. Absolutely. So only the games that you approve? Yes. I've been trying to become, get to Trump and tell him that we need a video game czar. If I become the video game czar, there will never be another fat woman in a video game ever again. I promise you. There will never be a girl with a cup size under double D ever again. I promise. That's right. I will not let you down. L, we need small tits. Okay. Okay, but they have to be sexualized in another way. That's okay. No, you're right. You're right. There are guys that like that, and that's okay. But then it has to be something different. You know? But yeah, something else different, right? And anyway, so I can take care of this. I'll deal with it myself. We just need good tits, small tits, big tits is fine. You just got to be hot. Exactly. Anyway, so here's the point. If you want to join the graveyard of games, pretend like you don't know what the problem is. It's worked great. It's worked really well, right? Because every single video game like this that's come out has been an absolute failure. And so if you keep wanting to talk around it, that's it. I appreciate the write-up. I'm sure you did the best with what you were directed to create. I didn't want to be that dev calling attention to myself as I have a horse in the race, but to call this game a failure before it's even out is wild to me. Well, people called Concord a fail. Like, every single one of these games were called failures before they came out, and every single one of these games people were right about. When was the last time that a game came out and the collective internet didn't think that it was going to be garbage and it turned out to be good? When did that happen? Silent Hill? I think that's a good example, actually. I do. I think that's a good... Dragonflight? The thing is that so I think Dragonflight might be in a situation that South of Midnight was in, where like the game quality was actually pretty good, but it just didn't bring an audience. So I wonder how well Dragonflight sold and how much money it made, because I think that it's probably like South of Midnight. Like, I thought the game was decent, right? But it doesn't matter whenever it doesn't make sales. And that's really it. Resident Evil Village? No, as soon as I saw the trailer for that game with that tall lady with the big boobs, I immediately thought the game was great. I did. I thought it was a great... I never played the game, but I think it's probably a great game. Yeah, I feel like it probably one of the best games, if anything. And so, yeah, Helldivers. Do people think Helldivers was going to be bad? I don't remember that, to be honest with you. But anyway, so you could be right, but I think that Silent Hill is a good example. I really hope there's no one too uncivil in these comics because you worked on Concord. Yeah, for sure. It always makes me shake my head when looking at gaming discourse online is the way that people think that somehow devs are part of some grand conspiracy to intentionally make an unfun experience. Well, somebody's got to be responsible. And if you work on something, people are going to blame you for it. Imagine that. I don't know what you want me to say. So anyway, thank you for the dev insight. For the little I played at Concord, I liked it. Yeah, but it wasn't enough. And let's see here. Thank you so much for giving us Concord. I agree. Thank you so much for giving us Concord. I got so much out of that game. You have no idea. It was absolutely great for me. Yeah, it was... I probably made more videos. I probably made more money making videos about Concord being bad than Concord made as a game. Like, straight up. I probably made more money than the game did. Somebody says bro's a fucking vulture. Hey. It is what it is, right? What do you want? Yeah, that's it. Wait, Matt Castellani, yeah, exactly. And Dan probably, yeah, owe these guys a muffin basket? Yeah. Send them a little gift basket, exactly. And anyway, Concord failed to inspire players. Concord, as you recall, wasn't just a failure. It was a spectacular flameout. It launched to virtually zero interest and was pulled offline less than 2 weeks later. And then Sony decided to pull the plug on Firewalk, to an ugly outcome given that Sony had acquired Firewalk for 2 years earlier. So anyway, let's see. People clearly expecting the same from Marathon. It's not a massive backlash, but there's a strain of persistent negativity out there, which is what prompted Williams to post this message. And yes, the reason why the message is out there and the reason why people don't like it is because it looks weird. That's the reason why. The game characters look weird, and they look like these... Like, every single fucking American video game has to introduce a bunch of androgynous, weird, gender non-specific characters that nobody wants to be. This is the reality, is that you get all the hoes dressing up for Marvel Rivals, ain't nobody want to look like this bitch. That's a fact. And so at the end, like, and that's free fucking advertising. Literal free real estate. And you don't want to do that. That's your problem. That's it. Metal Gear Solid 2 is the first. No, am I wrong? Really? Why the fuck do people want to play characters that they don't even want to be? Yes, it's crazy. And you make dudes look like this when they aren't buff. Every guy, like, think about every fantasy story. Aragorn looks like a G. Legolas looks like a G. Gimli is a dwarf warrior. Gandalf looks like a fucking wizard. Let's see. Conan the Barbarian? I'm pretty sure he won some awards for being a really good-looking guy, right? V for Vendetta. Yeah, I mean, hey, well, he's wearing a mask, right? It's a little bit different. Han Solo, Gears of War. Yeah, Marcus and fucking Coltrane. These dudes are fucking jacked. They're massive, Dom. Yeah, Clive from Final Fantasy 16. Like, Loki, even Loki's a good-looking guy. He's a little bit, sinister-looking guy, but he's still a good-looking guy. Kratos looks like a fucking badass. Solid Snake. Bro, they based him off Kurt Russell, who's a G. Bro, Kurt Russell in Escape from New York and Escape from L.A., it was so good. It was so good. Like, that was... Dude, Aura, yes, exactly, right? And look at fucking Blade, like Wesley Snipes is Blade. Fuck yes, he looks awesome. Yes, and so Duke Nukem, yes. Again, nobody wants to be a fat brony with, cargo shorts and a Cheeto-stained t-shirt. Nobody wants to look like me. Fuck no. If I wanted to look like me, I'd go to a mirror. If I wanted to look at a bunch of ugly people, I'd go to Walmart. If I want to play a fantasy video game, I want to go to a different place. Am I crazy? Really? I feel like I'm losing my fucking mind. Jesus. Meanwhile, he just called it a failure himself. It was. It was. To call this game a failure before it's even out is wild to me. No, it's not. No, it's not. If something looks like shit, it's probably shit. That's it. That's the end of the conversation. Somebody say, don't judge a book by its cover. I say, if you can't even figure out how to make a good cover, what are the odds that you can write a book? It's one picture. You can't figure that out? But I'm supposed to expect that you can write a whole tapestry of a story? Fuck no. If it's shit, it's shit. What about chocolate? You can smell it. It's different. What was the last game that looked like shit but turned out to be great? Ooh. Eesh. Ooh. Ah. Schedule 1? No, that's art design. Like, you could say Schedule 1 or Pal World, but what you're talking about is graphical fidelity. I'm not talking about graphical fidelity. Schedule 1 looks really good. It just has low graphical fidelity. That's a different type of situation. I don't know, man. I really don't. And so anyway, Concord dev, yeah, this game is going to crash. Did you guys really think it was a bright idea to get a comment from one of the Concord devs? LMAO, Concord 2. Man. It's objectively a failure before it launches on a few fronts. It's embarrassing, bro. It really is. Like, I just... If we knew go from Concord to here is a failure, yeah, it's just we were right about that pile of shit Concord, and we'll be right again. No, and anybody calling this game a failure in pre-alpha is stupid. No, 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 no. Most people make a decision on a game probably within 20 seconds of looking at the trailer. Most people take that first impression and they say, is this cool or not? And if that first impression is bad, they're not going to play the game because it looks weird. It just looks weird. That's it. It's like, I don't know about this. This looks weird. That matters more than anything. Think about how many people got hoodwinked by Diablo 4 because that first impression was immaculate. It's just common sense. Bro, the beta was so good. Well, so were the trailers, and so was Lilith. And so was, like, all of the visuals for the game. It was fucking amazing. As far as I know, I mean, maybe there's a couple of exceptions. Very rarely are there video games that gamers were right about, that were successful. Megan Fox fooled us? Yes, but the thing is that if you replaced... Okay, so let's think about it like this, all right? If they replaced Megan Fox in a Diablo 4 commercial with Rosie O'Donnell, do you think it would have sold more or less copies? Way less. Way less. Right? So it's just common sense, man. It's common sense. And so, and again, everybody knows this, but some people want to hide. You come out saying a game can be the next big thing, and it's something of a unique genre. You better bring it. Yeah, it's got to be good and interesting. Stop pandering to the modern audience, and there's less gut wrenching. Yeah. So a Concord developer says, "Don't write it off yet." If only you had done the same thing, maybe you could have spared yourself. Like, I mean, can you imagine? Like, I would, like, if I was a Concord developer, I would immediately go out, like, in order to keep my resume pure, I would immediately go out and commit a felony to get put in jail, so I could say that the gap in my resume was because I was in jail, and I wouldn't have to explain the fact that I had actually worked on Concord. It's sad. Can you imagine that? I love your logical reasoning for everything, not feelings. No, the thing is, I try to be fair. I try to be fair. Concord is getting its own animated short. I was gonna make a joke about a very big tragedy, but I guess we don't need to do that. Anyway.
$3 billion in funding for Harvard because they ain't playing ball and dropping their DEI nonsense. Harvard says, no, this is a political stunt, and we're not going to let you dictate what we can or cannot do and say and teach at our university. But here's where it gets interesting, my friends.
The clip ends. So Trump is freezing their money, which, in my opinion, by the way, is a great thing.
The Trump administration tonight firing back at Harvard University after the school basically set up a showdown with the Trump administration, rejecting some of the White House's demands on its policies. A White House spokesperson saying, in part, President Trump wants to end unchecked anti-Semitism and that Harvard's response could put its federal funding at risk. But Harvard's president says the university will not surrender its independence and that neither Harvard nor any other private university can allow itself to be taken over by the federal government.
Yeah, you can. There are a lot of laws that you have to follow at Harvard. because Harvard is in the United States. You don't make the rules. The government makes the rules and you follow the rules, and you can maybe do a few things yourself. This isn't like the Vatican. You're not the Vatican. How do you think this?
The Trump administration had something like 10 demands for Harvard, including the elimination of DEI programs and the restriction
Implement merit-based admissions and hiring practices. Now, this is what I think Donald should do. If they will not completely go down on this and like completely do this, I think he should come at them with the entire justice system and sue them massively for civil rights violations. Absolutely fucking crucify them. It's outrageous. Fuck them, yeah. This is make an example out of them. Exactly, yeah. And also, the thing is that at the end of the day, it's racism. It is. It's a private school. What? It doesn't matter. If you're a private school and you're exercising racist admissions and you're doing this inside, like private schools are still open to the public. They're receiving funding. It's like a business, for example. So a business can't just tell people that, oh, there's no black people allowed in this business. That's not the way that it works. We've decided, and by the way, it took Bernie Sanders was there. They can, though. No, they can't. They can't. That's literally, that we had a whole fucking problem with this. A lot of us weren't even alive then, right? I wasn't even alive then. This whole thing, this is all done. Like this has been settled for fucking years. How are we still getting into this?
acceptance of international students who are, and I'm quoting here, hostile to American values and institutions. Stephanie Gosk is joining us now. You couldn't think of a...
I think that I can push back a little bit on the hostile to American values thing. I don't think that Harvard needs to be required to operate as a as an arm of the Homeland Security branch of the government. I think that's unreasonable. Personally.
You couldn't think of a perhaps bigger name in the world of college universities to go basically head to head with the Trump administration on some of these controversial changes that the White House wants. What happens next here?
Well, you know, it's interesting, Hallie. First of all, it's worth pointing out that Harvard receives $9 billion worth of federal funding from the government. And so that's
such a weird hill to die on. If it's not based on income, DEI is literally not required to anything. I am a huge supporter of DEI based on income. And I actually think that they should get rid of legacy applications as well. Because I think that legacy applications are fundamentally, pretty much the same thing. I think those are awful. And I think any organization that does any DEI admissions or any legacy applications, I think they should lose all funding, period. It's disgusting. Yeah, just period. Like I don't want a single dollar of my tax money going to them. I don't want to fund because also keep in mind, legacy applications, let's be real, guys. 60, 70 years ago, black and white people didn't have the same opportunities to get into these schools. Just straight up. They didn't. We all know that. So legacy, it's almost like you're trying to like grandfather in some sort of racial preferences. It's fucking nepotism. Yeah. Fuck that, man. Some people don't know this. A legacy application is when a person is granted preferential treatment inside of a university because a family member went to the university. So it's like your dad went to this university. Okay, your chances of you getting in are higher now. But the problem is, if your dad and your grandfather got into it, well, they got into it in a world where we did have racial discrimination. It was real. And again, that's the kind of stuff that makes people racist. And also it makes them right, because it is fucked up. It's classism. It is. And also keep in mind, guys, it's very important to keep this in mind. Almost all race issues can be solved by addressing class issues. Not all, but almost all. I'm a huge supporter of DEI for income, just not for race.
That's a real hammer that the government has, and can hold that above Harvard University, try to get them to make some of these changes. This letter that Harvard received on Friday night is really long, and it has a lot of very specific things that they are calling on the university to do to get this funding. Among them are things like hiring an independent third party to determine whether there's anti-Semitism on campus and in the curriculum. Also to make sure that there's diversity of opinion on campus. And you've heard a bunch of White House officials, including the vice president himself, talking about.
It's always hard for me to talk about this stuff because, like, I actually kind of disagree with a little bit of this. Like, especially with, like, enforcing diversity of opinion. Like, because I feel like enforcing diversity of opinion is compelled speech indirectly. Is that crazy for me to say? I think that's overreach. So, like, I'm half on this. I'm half off of it. Am I crazy for saying that? I'm half in, half off.
How there is a throughout our universities a kind of sickness where there is no diversity of opinion, and this is clearly part of an effort.
I mean, the people have been saying this for as long as I've been alive, and I do think that part of this is institutionalized.
To change the way universities operate, and they're holding this funding, which is really how research is done at universities, in large part because of this funding. They are holding that over the heads of schools and universities around the country.
Harvard is a wealthy school. They just are, right? How much of an impact is this going to have on them? Let's say they were to use that federal funding. To your point, Steph, in the world of carrots and sticks, I mean, that's a big one. How much of an impact could this actually have?
Well, really big. I mean, $9 billion is a lot of money. The school very clearly relies on it, and yes, they are an incredibly wealthy school. But if that is removed, that will change how research is done on campus.
Absolutely.
But interestingly, Harvard taking a stand in a very public way, and not just about itself, also saying that universities and schools around the country should follow their lead. They are calling this a violation of their First Amendment rights. Hallie.
It's not your First Amendment right to racially discriminate in hiring people. This is ridiculous. It's insane. What? What? How can somebody even say this? It's unreal. You're at it being overreach, but that's what happens when there's already so much rot corroding the system. Yeah, I understand that too. And they should ban them from operating until they change. I don't think he can do that, but if he could, I would support him doing that. I think that you need to take as brutal and as aggressive as of a stance as possible against these racially based systems, and I would support going after them to the full extent of the law. Please clarify, you want Marxist income policy instead of merit income, really? I think that it's very easily quantifiable that people with less money have less access to education and less access to quality education. And so in the interest of creating an equitable society where every person has the opportunity that I think they deserve, I think it's best to make sure that you have some degree of equalization force so you can account for that difference. I don't think that's like saying Social Security, and also, like, I'm not totally against socialism. Like, I agree with socialism in a lot of things. Like, basically, my mindset is I'm a socialist in a lot of ways, but I just don't want it going to fucking illegals. I don't want it going to other countries. Like, I want it going to the people here. That's what matters to me. The mass killings? I'm not a big fan of the mass killings. Not a big fan of that. And also, by the way, you're a National Socialist? Well, I wouldn't really use that word. I think that word's really, the history of that's really not so good, is it? But the point is that that was you could probably get other people with that, but not me. So yeah. Anyway, there's a reason why socialism doesn't work in a single place. It's implemented in any capacity. Well, so like, do people view like systems like food stamps, for example, or Social Security as socialism? Because like I kind of view them as that. I do. I view them as like fundamentally like kind of like socialist policies. So I think that really the best, like this is my personal opinion. I think that the best system is a 60-40 capitalism socialism system, somewhere around there. That's how I see it. If you want to say 70-30, 50-50, I'm not going to argue with you about that. But I think that it's a mix of both, and both of them are very important. So Scandinavia, yeah, I really think I think they do a good job with a lot of things. I do. So yeah, you don't need to use socialism to get social stuff done. I think that you do. I don't think you can rely on the like let's say churches to do it. I understand. Like I think that's wishful thinking personally. But yeah, anyway, that's the way I see it, and that's where I'm at. But anyway, I'll watch one more about this and see if there's any more information about this. But yeah, a $2 billion funding freeze. I think Trump needs to take these people all the way. Do it all the way. Because like this kind of stuff, like the thing is that Trump probably, like, I mean, it's funny that he'll be president for 12 years, right? But like, it's probably not going to happen. He needs to just absolutely kill this stuff. Like just absolutely brutally remove it, root and stem, scorched earth, completely annihilate it. And if he has to do that, I think the way you do that is you do it by acting extremely fast. And so I don't want to have him going back and forth with Harvard about this for a year. They need money, though? Well, then they better come to the table. That's how I see it. The problem is the universities have a lot in R&D and government contracts. Well, then they should come to the table. And if they don't, like the thing is that I don't think that there is no justification, in my opinion, to allow people who, and also, by the way, how do you think all of the researchers feel that their funding is getting frozen and cut because the administrators want to adhere to some kind of like racist policy? I bet they're probably furious about that. They don't want to have anything to do with that. That's not fair to them. So if you cut the funding, they'll start fighting each other. Why are tuition costs so high if they need all this federal funding? That's a great question.
So let's talk about Ivy League colleges. And we know that the anti-Semitism raging on some of the most elite institutions in our country has to be addressed. And as soon as Barnard got raided a couple of months ago by anti-Semitic activists from Colombia, they knew the president, this was his first opportunity to address it. So he took $400 million from them. And he said, do these 5 things or 8 things if you want to get it back. And they're still in discussions. When it came to Harvard and the threats against Harvard to straighten out their curriculum, to straighten out the anti-Semitism on their campuses, to start complying with some regulations that the administration put out, Harvard pushed back. And they said, we will not. And the president answered back last night by saying, if you will not, we're taking $2.5 billion from your grant system.
Thank God. That's right. Yep.
So there's this task force that is trying to get that money. Harvard, essentially, they've come back and they've said, you know what? What the administration is asking us to do is...
As a researcher at Harvard, I can say many non-professors are extremely angry that they're losing funding. Tenured facility don't seem to care since it won't be affected. Hard to say whether this guy's really like that or not, but I bet that's probably accurate. I mean, it would logically make sense that the people that would be affected would be the most angry. Sure.
Unconstitutional. It also flies in the face of our First Amendment rights. The president of Harvard, a fellow by the name of Alan Garber, sent a letter to the community to explain it. He said, although some of the demands outlined by the government are aimed at combating anti-Semitism, the majority represent direct governmental regulation of the intellectual conditions at Harvard. We have informed the administration through our legal counsel that we will not accept their proposed agreement. The university will not negotiate over its independence or its constitutional rights. So they've been hit with this $2.2 billion federal freeze. But here's the thing. I would imagine this is a battle that Harvard's going to fight, because while that's $2 billion, they've got an endowment at Harvard of $53 billion. So they've got a pile of dough they can rely on if they're going to fight this.
through it.
So the president's freezing $2.2 billion on grants, $60 million in contracts. President Obama applauded this because it's his alma mater, but Elise Stefanik also graduated from Harvard, and she was on Sean's show last night sounding off about it. But here's my question, Lawrence. Why should police officers, why should teachers, why should bricklayers and our blue-collar workers and the people in Detroit making our cars, why should they have to pay for schools that will continue and allow anti-Semitism on their campus? Because
I think that's the minor thing. Like, in my opinion, if somebody's a racist, stupid asshole, that's just a racist, stupid asshole. But the big problem is whenever the racist, stupid assholes are in charge of the system. That's whenever you've got a big, big issue. And this is what's happening, is that those racist, stupid assholes are running the system.
that's what happens. These are tax dollars. Harvard does have this huge endowment, and let
it's
all
unironically systematic racism. Exactly.
that money go to community colleges. Let it go to Mike Rowe, who's starting trade schools. Allow that money to go toward individuals who are working hard in America and never would have gotten into Harvard or can't afford Harvard.
Yeah.
You're exactly right, Ainsley. They are not only anti-Semitic, but they allow people in on these visas that essentially hate the country. They want to redo what America is. And they have been very vocal about the people that have been deported by the president as a result of them violating their visa. The second thing is they don't want cops on their campus as well. A lot of these campuses shun law enforcement, don't want.
Yeah, this is another example. Like, this isn't even like, in my opinion, this is like one of those things where it's not even a conversation. Like, you don't get to tell the police where they get to go. That's literally it. Like, there's no debate on this. Yeah, unless it's your house. Even in your house, if they have a warrant to search your house, no, you don't.
Want them there and feel like they're an enemy to the American people, which we know is untrue. Let's talk with some of the diners right now and see what they're. Go ahead.
One of the lawyers fighting for Harvard is Robert Hur. Famously did the Hur report on Biden, and the other one's a conservative too, so they think they have an advantage there. I would say this. They're going to have to evaluate. They're going to have everything under scrutiny. Why they're taking so many international students. What countries are contributing to their institution. What is in their curriculum. They're going to have to expose it all.
That's also another big question is, like, why is it that this university is bringing in a large amount of international students and the American taxpayers are funding it? Because, like, in my mind, like, as a taxpayer, I would want American universities that are bringing in, that are like getting my money. I would want them to be working in my best interest as an American. It's ridiculous. Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, and I'm not saying zero, right? But I think that the percentage or the amount is definitely up for debate. It's another form of DEI. Yeah, but it's not DEI. Because taxpayers are paying for something. If you're taking a person's money, you need to give them something back for that money that's equitable for them. So when your money is being allocated to something, you have a right to say how that money will be allocated.
Administration is just amping it up. Princeton's also fighting. Columbia's capitulating as of now. Maybe when they get a permanent president, they might change. But go ahead, Lawrence.
Yeah, you're exactly right, though, Brian. Let's go find some folks to talk to. Hey, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing great, man.
So Harvard, they're not going to comply with the administration. They said get rid of the anti-Semitism. The people that hate our country, that want visas, we're going to start revoking those visas.
I wonder what he thinks. I wonder what he thinks. Yeah. You say that, but it goes directly against the initiative to bring overseas talent to the U.S. to the tech industry, which you and the current administration agreed with. I think that bringing over talent is important, but doing it to a degree that it disenfranchises and it prevents American students from getting positions to a large degree, I think it becomes counterproductive. And I also dislike the premise that there is not an American equivalent to, like, is it possible that all of these people in these other countries, there are no American citizens that could potentially even theoretically do the same thing? I think that's ridiculous. It's ridiculous to assume that, like, oh, wow, these people in these other countries are that much smarter and that much better whenever we have American citizens that can't do that. Like, it's outrageous.
Jesus. Harvard, as a result, have said, well, we don't want the money then. We're not going to negotiate with the administration. Where do you stand on it?
I stand 100% behind Donald Trump's decision to not fund them. People that work against this country are totally wrong. The woke need to wake up, okay, and get on the right side of what's going on. 1 minute they're saying one thing, next minute they're saying the other thing. They're doing a lot of flip-flopping.
People say they are smarter. So it's important to keep in mind that I'm not talking about like average citizens, average students versus average students. I'm talking about like top 0.1% students versus top 0.1% students. You're going to see a much less discrepancy there. Like if you want to talk about like the average US student versus like the average student in Sweden, yeah, probably, definitely.
And I'm totally against it. You know, this is our country.
Yeah, we have plenty
need to
of
stand
smart
up for
kids
this
here.
country. I was a 9/11 first responder. I love our cops. I love our military, and people need to do the right thing by us first, and that's it.
What about you? A lot of people agree with you too, sir. He's talking about 9/11, and you see these people protesting in the middle of the street. Some of them are not even American citizens. They want to overthrow a lot of the government. Some of them have been extremely anti-Semitic. Is the president making the right move here?
I love him. I think he's doing a great thing. I'm behind him 1,000%. The man doesn't really make too many mistakes when he talks. He was right about most things, and I'm for him 100%.
Thank you so much. It's been a great time here with a lot of these folks right here. They've been talking about some of the issues that matter to the country so much, and this is one of them. We got to protect our country, and it starts with these children that are on these college campuses.
Hey,
guys.
Lawrence, look over your right shoulder. That's the town supervisor, Joe Saladino. Right there with that gray suit on. Tell him to wave.
Where's Joe? Yeah, that's
there
Joe.
There he is. This is the guy in charge.
He said he grew up with you.
Right. But I think he's a Chaminade guy, though.
Spill the tea on Brian.
So Joe has been, he's been giving me all the dirt on Brian.
Oh, good.
And I prepared a dossier, and at some point I will release it on Fox and Friends.
And
but
you remember,
I'm not prepared to do it this morning.
Is it a dirty dossier?
Best soccer player Massapequa's ever had. Great athlete, great guy, amazing family. Brian is the real deal.
All right, Joe.
How much
What a nice guy.
But he also tried to get Teddy Roosevelt's statue when they tried to get rid of it. I remember. He's got a pretty tall gown.
All
right.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right, we'll check with you again. Thanks, Lawrence.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be real. Like the average people, like if you tell them that this shit is happening, average people are gonna be out of their fucking mind. And that's what I think really needs to be kept in mind with this, is that like a lot of these positions and this type of argumentation is so deeply and profoundly unpopular that it's actually shocking that anybody thinks that it's not. It's extremely unpopular. People don't want to fund universities that are just bringing in a bunch of foreign students, and then the local students that they are bringing in, they're doing it based off of like racial quotas. Really, it's insane. And also, like, again, don't American taxpayers have the right to decide where their money is going? I think they do. And so, like, how is it in the best interest of American taxpayers that, like, a huge amount of the percentage of this population for, like, a school, if somebody says, like, 1 in 5 students are foreign students, like, do we really need to do that? I think that we don't. And so, yeah, wait, the international students pay more in America? Yeah, they do, and that's probably why they get admitted. It's probably, and that's the thing, is it's probably not some kind of like grand idea of like them trying to like, you know, racially replace people or something like that. No, it's probably them just wanting to get more money. That's it. Trump make a true social post. After they responded, they wouldn't listen. All right, yeah, I'll look at it and see what it is. Let's see what he said. Perhaps Harvard should lose its tax-exempt status and be taxed as a political entity if it keeps pushing political, ideological, and terrorist-inspired supporting sickness. Remember, tax-exempt status is totally contingent on it acting in the public interest. Boys? Oh boy, I love it. I love to hear it. I love it. Absolutely. Like churches? Yeah, I mean, if a church is doing this, I would feel the same way. Absolutely. And yeah, good luck to the U.S. Yeah, we're so back. No, and the only thing is that I want him to work faster and do it faster. I don't want him to tweet about this. I want him to say that there's already an executive order that's signed and your tax-exempt status was gone 2 hours ago. Like, that's the only thing, right? It's because, like, he's got 4 years to do this stuff. You've got to speed run it. I got denied from a lesser school in my home state with a state payment, but I got accepted to an out-of-state school that was better. They had to pay more for. Yeah, I mean, again, it's always like, and that's the funny thing, is it's not even about like some grand ideology. It's just about figuring out a way to get people to pay you more money. It's just ridiculous. We went from student loan forgiveness to kneecapping universities. Love to see it. Well, has it ever occurred to you that maybe you need the student loan forgiveness because the universities are misusing the funds? Has it ever occurred to you that maybe these, like, you know, astronomically high rising, you know, prices of tuition are created by the universities? Like, who decided that the university costs had to 20x in the last 10 years, or not 10 years, in the last 30 or 40 years? It's outrageous. So yes, absolutely. And like, this is the same as like, it's always like the most like low IQ comparison of like two things that are like vaguely related, and then saying like, oh, but you want this, but you want the other thing too. It's like, no, nobody's going to listen to that. It's bullshit. Who decided you need a university degree? Well, a lot of companies did, but I agree with you that that's a problem too. I definitely do. He could really just tell the public that someone has to forge a signature for it and go faster, and Americans wouldn't care as long as it gets done faster. Well, I don't know about that. I feel like he can sign it himself. It's fucking stupid. Aren't the Republicans pro-freedom and they want to dictate how the university runs itself? Yeah. Well, let me just understand this. Like, so do you think the university should exercise racial disparities and should enforce racial disparities in its what do you call it, in like its admissions? Do you think they should do that? And also, like, here's the problem. These universities enjoy a tremendous amount of privileges. Like, for example, being tax exempt. That's a huge privilege. Receiving federal funding. I don't know, but like, if I would consider, if they were giving me $1 billion a year, I'd consider myself pretty fucking privileged. So how is it that when we're giving them billions of dollars and we're not requiring them to pay taxes, that we're not entitled to any degree of oversight of what they're doing? How is that equitable or fair? There are literally black-only universities still in existence. Do you know why? HBCUs, historically black colleges, are not black only. They're not. There are white people and other people that are not that color that go to those schools. No, absolutely not. But Trump seems to use his power to dictate what a university should do and not. Don't you support freedom in academia? No. Why should I support the academic freedom of them to racially discriminate? Yeah. No. Like, it's super simple. No. I don't give a shit about, like, the thing is, like, to me, you're not going to be able to like reframe something that sounds bad and then like, oh, I'm not going to say it, right? I'll just say it straight out. No, I don't support it at all. Small business owner here. If I get a loan for my business, specific loans, I must detail what I use it for, even if I'm paying it back. And it's a non-starter. If it's a grant, they dictate what I spend it on. Yeah, I know. Let me see if this guy has any other thing to say. Academic freedom can be interpreted to include the right to the university to determine their own hiring standards. Okay, sure. That sounds great. Well, then we're going to determine our own funding standards. Sounds good to me. Yeah, you wanna go and do that? That sounds fine. But yeah. CNN anchor threatens to cut the mic on Doge advisor. What?
Don't spend that Doge dividend quite yet. I'm Michael Smerconish in Philadelphia. Doge, they say they're about to show us the money. The Department of Government Efficiency, led by Elon Musk, is claiming to have saved taxpayers approximately $55 billion through various cost-cutting measures. They're breaking down how they claim they're doing it on the department's website.
Yeah.
For example, just yesterday, Doge published its latest cost-cutting measure. They say that it resulted in a value of up to $235 million in savings. It's also pointing out wasteful spending with posts like this, showing how taxpayers spent over $20 million on a boarded-up building over the course of 20 years. There's also a wall of receipts listing savings on the website detailing canceled contracts and terminated leases as part of the department's, they say, transparency initiative.
Yeah.
And now there's a new potential layer to these Doge savings that's gaining steam across social media to give us some of that money back.
Those are pennies, by the way? Okay, then give them to me.
It's called the Doge dividend, and it was explained in a 4-page plan that was introduced this week on X.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Breaking down how every taxpayer would get a $5,000 tax refund check funded exclusively with a portion of the total savings delivered by Doge,
There's a better chance Doge is going to give you a unicorn. Really. Like, it's probably not going to happen. But, I mean, it's funny to think about.
As Musk's goal of $2 trillion in federal savings is met. The tweet was from an investor and CEO, James Fishback, who's been a guest at Mar-a-Lago and has ties to both Trump and former Doge official Vivek Ramaswamy. Well, the idea grabbed Elon Musk's attention, who replied he'd checked with the president. It appears that he did, because one day later, President Trump expressed interest in this proposal.
Okay.
There's even under consideration a new concept where we give 20% of the Doge savings to American citizens and 20% goes to paying down debt, because the numbers are incredible.
So with attention comes scrutiny. With Doge, the accuracy of its reported savings being called into question. For instance, an initial claim of saving $8 billion by canceling a single Immigration and Customs Enforcement ICE contract was later revised to $8 million after discovering a clerical error. And that's not all. Critics are calling Musk out for the haphazard way that he's approaching cost cutting. There's the firings, then rehirings across agencies, questions about transparency, conflicts of interest. The true dollar amount of these savings being questioned.
I don't see where the conflict of interest thing comes in. I mean, haven't they both addressed that like 7 times? I feel like that's already been defined.
The long-term impact of the overhaul. Well, who better to answer some of these questions than James Fishback, the CEO of Azoria, the originator of the Doge dividend. James, thank you for being here. How did this all come to pass?
Well, good morning, Michael. To tell you the truth, it came to me in a dream. I woke up, I called her.
All right. All right, okay. Your nation's a joke? I don't know. It seems like a pretty good dream to me.
Head of research at Azoria. We met at Capitol Grill. We fleshed this thing out in 2 hours, and I'm honored that the president has endorsed it. This is a real plan to send the savings that Doge generates over the next couple of years right back into the pockets of hardworking Americans all across this country. They deserve it. It was their money in the first place, and they need a break.
Okay, I'm all for ridding the government of waste, fraud, and abuse. But at some level, isn't it all illusory? In other words, if there's a quote-unquote savings made by Elon Musk and Doge, we're still $36 trillion in debt. So there's...
So let me get this straight. The logic is that because we already have a bunch of debt, we might as well just keep spending money? Like, I don't understand this at all. And also, if this was illusory, then why did we give out COVID stimulus checks? We already have a principle for this. There's a precedent for this. It happened like 3 years ago. What do you mean?
There's no pie to cut up. There's no slice of the pizza that I can hand back to you unless we continue to borrow those funds.
Our plan's really simple. Over the next couple of years,
They
DOGE
already
will
forgot?
save
You
a
think
set
they forgot
amount
about
of
the
money.
COVID stimulus?
We're going to take 20% of that and put it right back in the hands of taxpayers. The other 80, as President Trump has pointed out, will go back to paying down the debt and narrowing the deficit. Here's the truth, Michael. For every $5 that DOGE saves, as we believe calculated by the Congressional Budget Office, when this whole project is said and done next summer, for every $5, $1 goes back to the pockets of American taxpayers. Here's why.
Why are his Jesus, bro. Like, this guy got a default resting face like a Starfield NPC. This is not. What's it? Damn, bro.
They sent their money to D.C. to be spent in America, not to be abused, not to be disrespected, and not to be defrauded. That $20 million to Iraqi Sesame Street, that money sent for a transgender opera in Colombia, all at the same time, Michael, that we have roads and bridges crumbling. We're losing 900 Americans every day.
I don't even care about the money. I care about where the money went. I bet that opera probably wasn't even that good. I want a detailed balance sheet of that opera. I want to know who was in charge of it, and I think they should get audited. Let's get their tax returns. Let's go ahead and do an audit of their finances. That's what I want to see happen. That's where I'm at. Because I don't even think they're getting their transgender opera. We're spending all this fucking money, they don't even get it. Or if they do, it sucks.
Deaths of despair, alcoholism, and suicide. 8 out of 10 black American fourth graders are not even reading at grade level. This is pathetic.
What?
10 black American day to deaths of despair, alcoholism, and suicide. 8 out of 10 black American fourth graders are not even reading at grade level. This is pathetic.
What the
Americans
fuck?
sent their money to be spent in America. They were defrauded. They were lied to. They now deserve restitution. And the second point that President Trump, just one sec, Michael. The second point that President Trump brought up on Air Force One is that these DOGE dividends will incentivize Americans to report waste, fraud, and abuse in their own community. Why? Why? Because the more that DOGE saves, the
more money
bigger
they
their
get.
DOGE dividend check will be. Remember, in economics, show me the incentive and I'll show you the outcome. We're giving every American.
I'm going to get to the economics. Come
Go
on,
ahead.
I gave you a chance for a great sound bite. You got and those soft power exercises make for great sound bites. But when you drill down,
It's not having a transgender opera isn't soft power. It's just retarded. Like, what is that? What are we thinking? Like, really? It's crazy. What are you talking
for
about?
example, on Sesame Street in Iraq, they often make sense. Joseph Nye from Harvard, who gets credited with the coinage of the word soft power, you'd rather spend on that than bullets. But wait. You want to talk
Hold on,
about
there was
the
a
economics.
terrorist attack in Iraq last month that killed 40 people. It's clearly not working.
Yeah, if so, I mean, is the solution, so if the soft power, so basically, if the logic is that this soft power reduces the probability of having bad things happen, then how many Sesame Street plays do you think that we should have? Because, like, obviously one isn't enough. Because if we're still having terrorist attacks over there, they're not working. So maybe 5, 7, 12, maybe once a week. How many is it going to take to make these bombs stop exploding? There has to be the math on this, right? Why should we care about terrorist attacks in Iraq at all? That's a great question. Yeah, I don't think it's the U.S. taxpayers' responsibility to care about terrorist attacks that are in Iraq. Great point.
Okay, power and Sesame Street are not working. If there are terrorists, we need to kill the terrorists. We don't need to fund Big Bird and Elmo.
Maybe the terrorist would have been better off watching Big Bird than learning in a madrasa.
So he's saying we need more Sesame Street plays in Iraq what is it? Like, I don't understand. Like, you see the video. Like, how is this possible? How, like, is there any thinking to this at all? This is amazing. There's no answer. I don't even understand this at all. Depends if the government divide up their nose. Otherwise, you don't need to care. Well, this is my mindset. Is that why the fuck are we in Iraq at all? Now, I'm speaking as an American, so I can't understand Iraqi culture. But what I can understand is that if I had another nation that is trying to forcefully push its agenda in my country, that would annoy me. And I wouldn't like that. So when I hear this, I bet there's a lot of guys in Iraq that are like, what the fuck are they doing trying to come over here and tell us how to live? You already bombed us. You destabilized our fucking country. You killed our leader. And you think we had nukes. We didn't have any nukes, by the way. Everything's fucked up now. And now you want us to look at Sesame Street and tell us that we're right? You're going to Big Bird us out of being mad about the weapons of mass destruction debacle? I don't fucking think that's going to happen. Really, you think about it. It's insane. Big Bird is the solution to terrorism. Well, I don't know about Big Bird, but I know One Piece certainly isn't.
Let me make my point. Put on the screen from the Peterson Foundation. This is where the rubber meets the road. We are $36 trillion in debt. I don't know if you can see that, but that's 106,121 for every single person in America. So if Elon Musk is successful in saving us money from waste, fraud, and abuse, and by the way, James, I hope that he is.
This is a complete cosmetic number. We're never going to pay down this debt. It's never going to happen. It's a complete made-up number. It's $36 trillion. That's not even real. Like, all of these are bullshit theoretical numbers. Like, what is this? It's not made up? Yeah, absolutely it is. Debt to who? Who's the debt to? Who's that? It's all made up money. It's not
I
all
don't
the
like
China.
the approach, but I like the fact that something's being done. There is no money in the till. We owe $36 trillion. We owe $106,000 each. So whatever the savings ought to be, it's not like President Trump's doing us a favor by giving us 20%. Everything ought to go to the debt because the Peterson people
That's
say...
a fair argument. If he wants to use this argument and say that the Doge dividend is silly and it should be put entirely towards paying down the debt, like, I wouldn't agree with that because I think that the debt is just a cosmetic number that will never change. Like, this entire, you're never going to pay down $36 trillion. It's just never going to happen. Like, I'm sorry, it will never happen. It's not real. It's never going to go that far. It's just never going to happen. So anyway, that being said, inflation. Yeah, with inflation, everything like that, it's just never going to happen. That being said, I think the money should probably just be reallocated to people through, like, entitlement programs. It's not like they should just send people checks.
By 2050, 50% of all revenue is going to go to satisfying interest on the debt. We should be paying the debt. Your response?
My response is this. We should be paying the debt, which is why the Doge dividend incentivizes every American to call out waste, fraud, and abuse, to lower the budget, to narrow the deficit, and to bring down the debt. Where was this emergency over the debt when we sent $350 billion to Ukraine to be wasted? Where was this emergency, Michael, on CNN when you guys were advocating?
Because you don't know economics, do some basic research before saying nonsense. Do you realistically think that we are ever going to pay down $36 trillion? Just be honest with me right now. Do you ever think that's actually going to happen? Your investments grade will be reduced? That's not the question I asked. Do you think that we're ever going to pay that down? That number is ever going to get erased? Japan, China on most of our debts? Yes, I think that you will. I don't think we will. I think the number is too big. We're not getting enough money. There's never going to be a reason to do that. A lot of the EU and Brazil can't really capitalize on that debt. It's not going to happen. Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen.
$7,000 to migrants in Chicago, $7,000 a month per migrant, and now we want to spend $5,000 one time from President Trump to hardworking Americans. The migrants didn't deserve $7,000 a month. Hardworking Americans deserve a $5,000 check with President Trump's name on it. So enough with the double standard. Ukraine did not deserve $350 billion.
Okay, listen to me.
Something totally different.
Listen to me. This is Madoff-like. This is a Ponzi scheme.
No, Ukraine was a Ponzi scheme. The migrant funding was a Ponzi scheme. Hardworking Americans deserve a break.
James,
it was their money, Michael. It was their money.
James, give me a chance to speak. Theoretically, it's my program. We don't have the money, is what I'm trying to tell you. It's a Ponzi.
So we didn't have the money for Ukraine, right? We didn't have the money for Ukraine. $350 billion.
I never do this. I don't want to be that guy. And do I have to silence your microphone so I can respond to what you've said? Because there's so much fallacy in what you've just offered.
Please go ahead and refute it.
I have a very simple premise here. We're $36 trillion in debt. It's a fraud. As much as I want to see us cut waste, fraud, and abuse, it is an absolute fraud to say to the American people, because of what Musk is doing, we have $5 grand to give each of you. The only way we have $5 grand is if we're borrowing it, because we're that far in debt. I'm trying to meet you halfway, which is simply to say, what a good thing that finally we're going to look at waste, fraud, and abuse, albeit it shouldn't be in this haphazard fashion. But let's at least be honest with the American people that whatever we quote-unquote save, we already owe. Now I'm going to give you 30 seconds to respond, and then I'm going to say see you later. Go ahead.
Michael, let me say this. We're fellow Americans. We care about this issue, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to come on this program, but I got to speak truth here. At the end of the day, we've got to send the money back that is saved, just 20% of it. The other 80% goes down to paying the national debt and narrowing the deficit. To your point, yes, there has been a fraud against the American people, the Green New Scam, Ukraine, the migrant crisis. Their taxpayer dollars were sent abroad, were not sent at home, were not spent in America, not on health care, not on education. That ends with President Trump's leadership today. He is delivering on his promise of major government reform, Michael. The DOGE dividend plan is bold, and Americans support it.
All right, I'm calling time on all of that. I appreciate your being here. I think we've each, I hope, made our respective points. Thank you.
I don't think we're ever going to get a DOGE dividend. I'm going to be totally honest. I don't think that's going to happen. I think the probability of it happening is so extremely fucking low. Right side guy, what is this here? Is the money was found when they have all the receipts? They don't find a cash stockpile? Well, it's money that we're spending on something stupid, and then we stop spending the money, right? I think that's generally what happens. Talk about debt once in 10 years. Once they start to care when their opponent's political points with fucking children. No, the thing is that, like, we're never going to pay back $36 trillion. It's never going to happen. The entire premise of this problem is fake. Like, I'm sorry. And if you guys think that it's going to happen, go ahead, clip it right now. Let's come back to it in 5, 10, 20 years. Yep, let's come back. Let's see if the number goes up or down. Because I bet it's just going to keep going up and up and up and up and up and up and up. That's it. And it's never going to go down. Will you be here in 20 years? If I don't get banned, maybe. Yeah, we'll see what happens, right? Or World War III happens. There's definitely that, too. And, yeah, that's it. $2.5 million views. That's a lot of views. A lot of people saw this one.
Breaking news, Vice President J.D. Vance just saying the Trump administration is, quote, feeling good about Trump's tariffs.
We're feeling good. Look, I frankly thought in some ways it could be worse in the markets because this is a big transition. You saw the president said earlier today, it's like a patient who was very sick. We did the operation, and now it's time to make the patient better. And that's exactly what we're doing.
Yeah.
All right, this says Jim Cramer from CNBC's Mad Money, who has never been a free trader, right? So he's not just out here to go against them. He's saying the White House doesn't seem to understand what it's trying to do and that the reciprocal tariffs are not reciprocal. And could do tremendous damage. So out front now, Jim Cramer of CNBC's Mad Money and Squawk on the Street, all on CNBC
that incredible network that I will love to the day I die.
Just so great to be here with you, Erin.
So, and I'm so thrilled that we're able to talk. Okay, so what the heck is going on?
Well, I'm let down because yes, I'm not a free trader. I'm a fair trader, always have been from the days when you worked with me at CNBC.
Yep.
And what I was hoping was that a coordinated thing where if you are charging us 20%, we charge you 20. Instead of a car where we're only making you pay 2.5 and you're not letting us in, we try to get things better. But
Right.
instead
So
of
on a specific thing, you go, if they're 10 on a car, you go 10 on a car.
But I went deep on the numbers today, and the numbers did not make any sense. And I was actually.
I was doing like bananas in Vietnam. You did Cramerica.
I just said, it's one of these things where if I'm.
The reason why it doesn't make any sense, there are two reasons, and I think both of them are equally plausible. The first reason is that Trump intentionally makes it not make sense in order to destabilize things and stress people out because it gives them more control. And the second reason could also be because he's stupid. Yeah, I don't know which one it is. Yeah.
Insufficient metal.
I'm doing 100 billion, and you're letting me do 10 billion, and I'm letting you do 100 billion. There was a way to be able to make it work, but the numbers that they did, and they had this ridiculous. I mean, that was the chart that they had with the mathematical equation. I mean, are you kidding me? How about just like
It looked like an Einstein.
I know. How about the fact that it was just wrong? And what bothered me, Aaron, was that they really did over and over again. The president said, "Listen, it's going to be reciprocal. So you do it, we do it," and that was going to be so good. And I really believed in it. And I feel like a sucker tonight because I am not a free trader, and I do not believe in free trade. And I was just as tough, if not tougher, than his people. But they screwed it up, and they did it a totally ill-advised way. And I was very let down as someone who really, truly believes that free trade is awful for the American working person. This is what they came up with. Geez, come on, have some gumption, have some math.
I mean, how in the world do they do that after all of this? Jerome Powell,
they assured us over and over again, Aaron, that they were going to do the thing that would make it so that the tariffs would come down and the countries that were bad actors would change their ways. And then Israel decides to get rid of tariffs.
And they tariffed them anyway.
Vietnam decides to cut.
Yeah, Israel decided to get rid of their tariffs on the U.S., and then Trump decided to just keep tariffing them. I think he said even it's gonna now we're gonna make it even higher. I don't know why he would do that. Yeah, I don't know why, but that's just the way it is. I think that they should be more specific if they want people. These experts think that we'll listen to them after they soiled their reputation after the last decades. These are the same clowns that said FTX was a great company and the company of the future. You're right. That's a great point.
Tariff, and they still got the highest tariff. It was such a shame because they missed the opportunity, and now they have to pay the price. And it's funny too because
this is all about Israel. Like what?
None of this stock market, none of this had to happen. Yeah. I feel bad because a lot of people lose money when this happens. I hope people just be calm, be constructive.
$3 billion in funding for Harvard because they ain't playing ball and dropping their DEI nonsense. Harvard says, no. This is a political stunt, and we're not going to let you dictate what we can or cannot do and say and teach at our university. But here's where it gets interesting, my friends.
The clip-ins. So Trump is freezing their money, which, in my opinion, by the way, is a great thing.
The Trump administration tonight firing back at Harvard University after the school basically set up a showdown with the Trump administration, rejecting some of the White House's demands on its policies. A White House spokesperson saying, in part, President Trump wants to end unchecked anti-Semitism and that Harvard's response could put its federal funding at risk. But Harvard's president says the university will not surrender its independence and that neither Harvard nor any other private university can allow itself to be taken over by the federal government.
Yeah, you can. There are a lot of laws that you have to follow at Harvard because Harvard is in the United States. You don't make the rules. The government makes the rules and you follow the rules, and you can maybe do a few things yourself. This isn't like the Vatican. You're not the Vatican. How do you think this?
The Trump administration had something like 10 demands for Harvard, including the elimination of DEI programs and the restriction
Implement merit-based admissions and hiring practices. Now, this is what I think Donald should do. if they will not completely go down on this and like completely do this, I think he should come at them with the entire justice system and sue them massively for civil rights violations.
Defense upgrade
Absolutely
complete.
fucking crucify them.
Military structure complete.
It's outrageous. Fuck them, yeah. This is make an example out of them. Exactly, yeah. And also, the thing is that at the end of the day, it's racism. It is. It's a private school. What? It doesn't matter. If you're a private school and you're exercising racist admissions and you're doing this inside, like private schools are still open to the public. They're receiving funding. It's like a business, for example. So a business can't just tell people that, oh, there's no black people allowed in this business. That's not the way that it works. We've decided, and by the way, it took Bernie Sanders was there. They can though. No, they can't. They can't. That's literally that. We had a whole fucking problem with this. A lot of us weren't even alive then, right? I wasn't even alive then. This whole thing, this is all done. Like this has been settled for fucking years. How are we still getting into this?
Acceptance of international students who are, and I'm quoting here, hostile to American values and institutions. Stephanie Gosk is joining us now. You couldn't think of a...
I think that I can push back a little bit on the hostile to American values thing. I don't think that Harvard needs to be required to operate as an arm of the Homeland Security branch of the government. I think that's unreasonable. Personally.
You couldn't think of a perhaps bigger name in the world of college universities to go basically head-to-head with the Trump administration on some of these controversial changes that the White House wants. What happens next here?
Well, you know, it's interesting, Hallie. First of all, it's worth pointing out that Harvard receives $9 billion worth of federal funding from the government. And so that's...
It's such a weird hill to die on. If it's not based on income, DEI is literally not required to anything. I am a huge supporter of DEI based on income.
Understood.
And I actually think that they should get rid of legacy applications as well. Because I think that legacy applications are fundamentally, pretty much the same thing. I think those are awful. And I think any organization that does any DEI admissions or any legacy applications, I think they should lose all funding, period. It's disgusting. Yeah, just period. Like I don't want a single dollar of my tax money going to them. I don't want to fund because also keep in mind, legacy applications, let's be real, guys. 60, 70 years ago, black and white people didn't have the same opportunities to get into these schools. Just straight up, they didn't. We all know that. So legacy, it's almost like you're trying to like grandfather in some sort of racial preferences. It's fucking nepotism, yeah. Fuck that, man. Some people don't know this. A legacy application is when a person is granted preferential treatment inside of a university because a family member went to the university. So it's like your dad went to this university, okay, your chances of you getting in are higher now. But the problem is, if your dad and your grandfather got into it, well, they got into it in a world where we did have racial discrimination. It was real. And again, that's the kind of stuff that makes people racist. And also it makes them right. Because it is fucked up. It's classism. It is. And also keep in mind, guys, it's very important to keep this in mind. Almost all race issues can be solved by addressing class issues. Not all, but almost all. I'm a huge supporter of DEI for income, just not for race.
That's a real hammer that the government has, and can hold that above Harvard University, try to get them to make some of these changes. This letter that Harvard received on Friday night is really long, and it has a lot of very specific things that they are calling on the university to do to get this funding. Among them are things like hiring an independent third party to determine whether there's anti-Semitism on campus and in the curriculum. Also to make sure that there's diversity of opinion on campus. And you've heard a bunch of White House officials, including the vice president himself, talking about.
It's always hard for me to talk about this stuff because, like, I actually kind of disagree with a little bit of this. Like, especially with, like, enforcing diversity of opinion. Like, because I feel like enforcing diversity of opinion is compelled speech indirectly. Is that crazy for me to say? I think that's overreach. So, like, I'm half on this. I'm half off of it. Am I crazy for saying that? I'm half in, half off.
How there is a throughout our universities a kind of sickness where there is no diversity of opinion, and this is clearly part of an effort.
I mean, the people have been saying this for as long as I've been alive, and I do think that part of this is institutionalized.
To change the way universities operate, and they're holding this funding, which is really how research is done at universities, in large part because of this funding. They are holding that over the heads of schools and universities around the country.
Harvard is a wealthy school. They just are, right? How much of an impact is this going to have on them? Let's say they were to use that federal funding. To your point, Steph, in the world of carrots and sticks, I mean, that's a big one. How much of an impact could this actually have?
Well, really big. I mean, $9 billion is a lot of money. The school very clearly relies on it, and yes, they are an incredibly wealthy school, but if that is removed, that will change how research is done on campus.
Absolutely.
But interestingly, Harvard taking a stand in a very public way, and not just about itself, also saying that universities and schools around the country should follow their lead. They are calling this a violation of their First Amendment rights. Hallie.
It's not your First Amendment right to racially discriminate in hiring people. This is ridiculous. It's insane. What? What? How can somebody even say this? It's unreal. You're at it being overreach, but that's what happens when there's already so much rot corroding the system. Yeah, I understand that too. And they should ban them from operating until they change. I don't think he can do that, but if he could, I would support him doing that. I think that you need to take as brutal and as aggressive as of a stance as possible against these racially based systems. And I would support going after them to the full extent of the law. Please clarify, you want Marxist income policy instead of merit income, really? I think that it's very easily quantifiable that people with less money have less access to education and less access to quality education. And so in the interest of creating an equitable society where every person has the opportunity that I think they deserve, I think it's best to make sure that you have some degree of equalization force so you can account for that difference. I don't think that's like saying Social Security, and also, like, I'm not totally against socialism. Like, I agree with socialism in a lot of things. Like, basically, my mindset is I'm a socialist in a lot of ways, but I just don't want it going to fucking illegals. I don't want it going to other countries. Like, I want it going to our people here. That's what matters to me. The mass killings? I'm not a big fan of the mass killings. Not a big fan of that. And also, by the way, you're a National Socialist? Well, I wouldn't really use that word. I think that word's really, you know, the history of that's really not so good, is it? But the point is that that was you could probably get other people with that, but not me. So yeah, anyway, there's a reason why socialism doesn't work in a single place. It's implemented in any capacity. Well, so, like, do people view, like, systems like food stamps, for example, or Social Security as socialism? Because, like, I kind of view them as that. I do. I view them as, like, fundamentally, like, kind of like socialist policies. So I think that really the best, like this is my personal opinion. I think that the best system is a 60-40 capitalism socialism system, somewhere around there. That's how I see it. If you want to say 70-30, 50-50, I'm not going to argue with you about that. But I think that it's a mix of both, and both of them are very important. So Scandinavia, yeah, I really think I think they do a good job with a lot of things. I do. So yeah, you don't need to use socialism to get social stuff done. I think that you do. I don't think you can rely on the like let's say churches to do it. I understand. Like I think that's wishful thinking personally. But yeah, anyway, that's the way I see it, and that's where I'm at. But anyway, I'll watch one more about this and see if there's any more information about this. But yeah, a $2 billion funding freeze. I think Trump needs to take these people all the way. Do it all the way, because like this kind of stuff, like the thing is that Trump probably, like, I mean, it's funny that he'll be president for 12 years, right? But like, it's probably not going to happen. He needs to just absolutely kill this stuff. Like, just absolutely brutally remove it, root and stem, scorched earth, completely annihilate it. And if he has to do that, I think the way you do that is you do it by acting extremely fast. And so I don't want to have him going back and forth with Harvard about this for a year. They need money, though? Well, then they better come to the table.
Military structure complete.
That's how I see it. The problem is the universities have a lot in R&D and government contracts.
Good day, Commander.
Well, then they should come to the table.
Military structure.
And if they don't, like, the thing is that I don't think that there is no justification, in my opinion, to allow people who, and also, by the way, how do you think all of the researchers feel that their funding is getting frozen and cut because the administrators want to adhere to some kind of like racist policy? I bet they're probably furious about that. They don't want to have anything to do with that. That's not fair to them. So if you cut the funding, they'll start fighting each other. Why are tuition costs so high if they need all this federal funding? That's a great question.
So let's talk about Ivy League colleges. And we know that the anti-Semitism raging on some of the most elite institutions in our country has to be addressed. And as soon as Barnard got raided a couple of months ago by anti-Semitic activists from Colombia, they knew the president, this was his first opportunity to address it. So he took $400 million from them. And he said, do these 5 things or 8 things if you want to get it back. And they're still in discussions. When it came to Harvard and the threats against Harvard to straighten out their curriculum, to straighten out the anti-Semitism on their campuses, to start complying with some regulations that the administration put out, Harvard pushed back. And they said, we will not. And the president answered back last night by saying, if you will not, we're taking $2.5 billion from your grant system.
Thank God.
Planet item complete.
That's right. Yep.
So there's this task force that is trying to get that money. Harvard, essentially, they've come back and they've said, you know what? What the administration is asking us to do is...
As a researcher at Harvard, I can say many non-professors are extremely angry that they're losing funding. Tenured facility don't seem to care since they won't be affected. Hard to say whether this guy's really like that or not, but I bet that's probably accurate. I mean, it would logically make sense that the people that would be affected would be the most angry. Sure.
Unconstitutional. It also flies in the face of our First Amendment rights. The president of Harvard, a fellow by the name of Alan Garber, sent a letter to the community to explain it. He said, although some of the demands outlined by the government are aimed at combating anti-Semitism, the majority represent direct governmental regulation of the intellectual conditions at Harvard. We've informed the administration through our legal counsel that we will not accept their proposed agreement. The university will not negotiate over its independence or its constitutional rights. So they've been hit with this $2.2 billion federal freeze. But here's the thing. I would imagine this is a battle that Harvard's going to fight. Because while that's $2 billion, they've got an endowment at Harvard of $53 billion. So they've got a pile of dough they could rely on if they're going to fight this.
So the president's freezing $2.2 billion on grants, $60 million in contracts. President Obama applauded this because it's his alma mater, but Elise Stefanik also graduated from Harvard, and she was on Sean's show last night sounding off about it. But here's my question, Lawrence. Why should police officers, why should teachers, why should bricklayers and our blue-collar workers and the people in Detroit making our cars, why should they have to pay for schools that will continue and allow anti-Semitism on their campus? Because
I think that's the minor thing. Like, in my opinion, if somebody's a racist, stupid asshole, that's just a racist, stupid asshole. But the big problem is whenever the racist, stupid assholes are in charge of the system. That's whenever you've got a big, big issue. And this is what's happening, is that those racist, stupid assholes are running the system.
Good day, Commander. Your orders.
that's what happens. These are tax dollars. Harvard does have this huge endowment, and let
it's
all
unironically systematic racism. Exactly.
Upgrade complete.
that money go to community colleges. Let it go to Mike Rowe,
Exactly.
who's starting trade schools. Allow that money to go toward individuals who are working hard in America and never would have gotten into Harvard or can't afford Harvard.
Yeah.
You're exactly right, Ainsley. They are not only anti-Semitic, but they allow people in on these visas that essentially hate the country. They want to redo what America is. And they have been very vocal about the people that have been deported by the president as a result of them violating their visa. The second thing is they don't want cops on their campus as well. A lot of these campuses shun law enforcement, don't want.
Yeah, this is another example. Like, this isn't even like, in my opinion, this is like one of those things where it's not even a conversation. Like, you don't get to tell the police where they get to go. That's literally it. Like, there's no debate on this. Yeah, unless it's your house.
You got the full weight
even
of a
in your
starbase
house,
at your disposal.
if they have a
The
warrant
item
to
is
search your
ready.
house,
Military structure complete.
no, you don't.
Want them there and feel like they're an enemy to the American people, which we know
Yeah.
is untrue. Let's talk with some of the
Let me just
diners
add this.
right
One of
now
the-
and see what they're. Go ahead.
One of the lawyers fighting for Harvard is Robert Hur, famously did the Hur report on Biden, and the other one's a conservative too, so they think they have an advantage there. I would say this: they're going to have to evaluate. They're going to have everything under scrutiny. Why they're taking so many international students? What countries are contributing to their institution? What is in their curriculum? They're going to have to expose it all.
That's also another big question: is like, why is it that this university is bringing in a large amount of international students, and the American taxpayers are funding it? Because, like, in my mind, like, as a taxpayer, I would want American universities that are bringing in, that are like getting my money. I would want them to be working in my best interest as an American. It's ridiculous. Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, and I'm not saying zero, right? But I think that the percentage or the amount is definitely up for debate. It's another form of DEI. Yeah, it's not DEI because taxpayers are paying for something. If you're taking a person's money, you need to give them something back for that money that's equitable for them. So when your money is being allocated to something, you have a right to say how that money will be allocated.
Administration is just amping it up. Princeton's also fighting. Columbia's capitulating as of now. Maybe when they get a permanent president, they might change. But go ahead, Lawrence.
Military structure complete.
Yeah, you're exactly right, though, Brian. Let's go find some folks to talk to. Hey, how you doing, sir? So Harvard, they're not going to comply with the administration. They said get rid of the anti-Semitism. The people that hate our country, that want visas, we're going to start revoking those visas.
I wonder what he thinks.
Another structure is in the way.
I wonder what he thinks. Yeah. You say that, but it goes directly against the initiative to bring overseas talent to the U.S. Tech industry, which you and the current administration agreed with. I think that bringing over talent is important, but doing it to a degree that it disenfranchises and it prevents American students from getting positions to a large degree, I think it becomes counterproductive. And I also dislike the premise that there is not an American equivalent to, like, is it possible that all of these people in these other countries, there are no American citizens that could potentially even theoretically do the same thing? I think that's ridiculous. It's ridiculous to assume that, like, oh wow, these people in these other countries are that much smarter and that much better whenever we have American citizens that can't do that. Like, it's outrageous.
Jesus. Harvard, as a result, have said, well, we don't want the money then. We're not going to negotiate with the administration. Where do you stand on it?
I stand 100% behind Donald Trump's decision to not fund them. People that work against this country are totally wrong. The woke need to wake up, okay, and get on the right side of what's going on. 1 minute they're saying one thing, next minute they're saying the other thing. They're doing a lot of flip-flopping.
Also, they are smarter. So it's important to keep in mind that I'm not talking about, like, average citizens, average students versus average students. I'm talking about, like, top 0.1% students versus top 0.1% students. You're going to see a much less discrepancy there. Like, if you want to talk about, like, the average U.S. student versus, like, the average student in Sweden, yeah, probably, definitely.
Military structure and I'm totally against it. You know, this is our country.
Yeah, we have
need
plenty
to
of
stand
smart
up for
kids
this
here.
country. I was a 9/11 first responder. I love our cops. I love our military, and people need to do the right thing by us first, and that's it.
What about you? A lot of people agree with you too, sir. He's talking about 9/11, and you see these people protesting in the middle of the street. Some of them are not even American citizens. They want to overthrow a lot of the government. Some of them have been extremely anti-Semitic. Is the president making the right move?
I love him. I think he's doing a great thing. I'm behind him 1,000%. The man doesn't really make too many mistakes when he talks. He was right about most things, and I'm for him 100%.
Thank you so much. It's been a great time here with a lot of these folks right here. They've been talking about some of the issues that matter to the country so much, and this is one of them. We got to protect our country, and it starts with these children that are on these college campuses.
Hey,
guys.
Lawrence, look over your right shoulder. That's the town supervisor, Joe Saladino. Right there with that gray suit on. Tell him to wave.
Where's Joe? Yeah, that's
there
Joe.
He is. This is the guy in charge.
He said he grew up with you.
Right. But he's I think he's a Chaminade guy, though.
Spill the tea on Brian.
So Joe has been, he's been giving me all the dirt.
Oh, good.
And I prepared a dossier, and at some point I will release it on Fox and Friends.
And
but
you remember,
I'm not prepared to do it this morning.
Is it a dirty dossier?
Best soccer player Massapequa's ever had. Great athlete, great guy, amazing family. Brian is the real deal.
All right, Tony.
How much did you
nice
pay
guy.
him?
But
There
he
you
also, he also tried to get Teddy Roosevelt's statue when they tried to get rid of it.
I
He was
remember.
going to breathe to Long Island.
that too.
All right.
All right,
Well,
thanks, guys.
All right, we'll check with you again. Thanks, Lawrence.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be real. Like the average people, like if you tell them that this shit is happening, average people are gonna be out of their fucking mind. And that's what I think really needs to be kept in mind with this, is that, like, a lot of these positions and this type of argumentation is so deeply and profoundly unpopular that it's actually shocking that anybody thinks that it's not. It's extremely unpopular. People don't want to fund universities that are just bringing in a bunch of foreign students, and then the local students that they are bringing in, they're doing it based off of, like, racial quotas. Really, it's insane. And also, like, again, don't American taxpayers have the right to decide where their money is going? I think they do. And so, like, how is it in the best interest of American taxpayers that, like, a huge amount of the percentage of this population for, like, a school, if somebody says, like, 1 in 5 students are foreign students, like, do we really need to do that? I think that we don't. And so, yeah, wait, the international students pay more in America? Yeah, they do, and that's probably why they get admitted. It's probably, and that's the thing, is it's probably not some kind of, like, grand idea of, like, them trying to, like, you know, racially replace people or something like that. No, it's probably them just wanting to get more money. That's it. Trump make a true social post. After they responded, they wouldn't listen. All right, yeah, I'll look at it and see what it is.
Our shields are down, Commander. Military
Let's see what he said.
Your orders.
Perhaps Harvard should lose its tax-exempt status and be taxed as a political entity if it keeps pushing political, ideological, and terrorist-inspired supporting sickness. Remember, tax-exempt status is totally contingent on it acting in the public interest. Boys?
Military structure complete.
Oh boy, I love it. I love to hear it. I love it. Absolutely. Like churches? Yeah, I mean, if a church is doing this, I would feel the same way. Absolutely. And yeah, good luck to the U.S. Yeah, we're so back. No, and the only thing is that I want him to work faster and do it faster. I don't want him to tweet about this. I want him to say that there's already an executive order that's signed and your tax-exempt status was gone 2 hours ago. Like, that's the only thing, right? It's because, like, he's got 4 years to do this stuff. You've got to speed run it.
Mining upgrade complete.
I got denied from a lesser school in my home state with a state payment, but I got accepted to an out-of-state school that was better. They had to pay more for. Yeah, I mean, again, it's always like, and that's the funny thing, is it's not even about like some grand ideology. It's just about figuring out a way to get people to pay you more money. It's just ridiculous. We went from student loan forgiveness to kneecapping universities. Love to see it. Well, has it ever occurred to you that maybe you need the student loan forgiveness because the universities are misusing the funds? Has it ever occurred to you that maybe these, like, you know, astronomically high rising, you know, prices of tuition are created by the universities? Like, who decided that the university costs had to 20x in the last 10 years, or not 10 years, in the last 30 or 40 years? It's outrageous. So yes, absolutely. And like, this is the same as like, it's always like the most like low IQ comparison of like two things that are like vaguely related, and then saying like, oh, but you want this, but you want the other thing too. It's like, no, nobody's going to listen to that. It's bullshit. Who decided you need a university degree? Well, a lot of companies did, but I agree with you that that's a problem too. I definitely do. He could really just tell the public that someone has to forge a signature for it and go faster, and Americans wouldn't care as long as it gets done faster. Well, I don't know about that. I feel like he can sign it himself. It's fucking stupid. Aren't the Republicans pro-freedom and they want to dictate how the university runs itself? Yeah. Well, let me just understand this. Like, so, do you think the university should exercise racial disparities and should enforce racial disparities in its what do you call it? In like its admissions? Do you think they should do that? And also, like, here's the problem. These universities enjoy a tremendous amount of privileges. Like, for example, being tax exempt. That's a huge privilege. Receiving federal funding. I don't know, but like, if I would consider, if they were giving me $1 billion a year, I'd consider myself pretty fucking privileged. So how is it that when we're giving them billions of dollars and we're not requiring them to pay taxes, that we're not entitled to any degree of oversight of what they're doing? How is that equitable or fair? There are literally black-owned universities still in existence. Do you know why? HBCUs, historically black colleges, are not black only. They're not. There are white people and other people that are not that color that go to those schools. No, absolutely not. But Trump seems to use his power to dictate what a university should do and not. Don't you support freedom in academia? No. Why should I support the academic freedom of them to racially discriminate? Yeah. No. Like, it actually is super simple. No. I don't give a shit about, like, the thing is, like, to me, you're not going to be able to, like, reframe something that sounds bad and then, like, oh, I'm not going to say it, right? I'll just say it straight out. No, I don't support it at all. Small business owner here, if I get a loan for my business, specific loans, I must detail what I use it for, even if I'm paying it back, and it's a non-starter. If it's a grant, they dictate what I spend it on. Yeah, I know. Let me see if this guy has any other thing to say. Academic freedom can be interpreted to include the right to the university to determine their own hiring standards. Okay, sure. That sounds great. Well, then we're going to determine our own funding standards. Sounds good to me. Yeah, you wanna go and do that? That sounds fine. But yeah.
Online. Set a course. Good day, Commander. Your orders. Comlink active.
a Zoom interview with one of the team members. After that, I had a case study where I was given very vague instructions. They got back to me and said that the team didn't feel like there was enough. They gave me another attempt. In the end, I just ended up just going back to the recruiter and saying, like, I'm sorry, I don't think this is the best fit. Because even if I did move forward and, they were okay with my revision, there still would have been 3 more interviews.
A lot of employers.
Jesus Christ, that's insane. 3 more interviews. Oh my God. You can't make me believe there's a shortage of jobs in this country whenever there's 23 cash registers at Walmart and only 3 cashiers. What do you mean by that? Because I think that's actually evidence that there is a shortage. Because they don't need to hire 24 of them, because now they just have self-checkout. It's a company thing. Walmart decides to not open the registers or hire more people. Yeah, exactly. I wish I could have experienced the time when you could fucking walk into the building and ask if you can work there, and they go, nah, we're full, or yeah, sure, bro. Well, like Peaky Blinders or something like that. You just walk into the warehouse and say, hey, you guys hiring? And then that's it? Oh, fuck. I don't know, right? I mean... I'm sure there were problems then too.
That doing more interviews is a good thing, and it's not a good thing.
Yeah.
Most job interviews are not doing anything important. They don't know that the questions they're asking are going to reveal anything about whether you're a good candidate or not. They don't know when they ask the question what the right answer is. And this is a development that's been going on for a while.
I've always thought that job interviews were also like, unless you're getting a job at NASA, they're like a vibe check. It's like if this person is like obnoxious or weird, you just don't hire them. It's like, okay, yeah, I mean, like they got the questions right, but they're fucking annoying. And so I don't want to have this person, I don't want this person in the building again. Like that, yeah, a sanity check. I mean, fuck. That's my opinion.
And
do
even
they
if the
smell
labor
bad?
market
What do they look like?
Stronger, you would
How do
still
they
be
dress? Yeah.
There are generally 2 terms economists use to describe the state of the job market: tight and loose.
Usually when economists talk about a tight labor market, they mean hot, essentially. And mostly what that means is it is difficult for employers to find workers. And so in that context, employers tend to be more hesitant to lay off workers. They tend to try to be more aggressive about how they hire, whether that means offering bonuses or offering on-the-job training. By contrast, a loose labor market or a cold labor market is one
I'd
where
expect it was the
there might
opposite.
be layoffs, it might
Based
be
off the terms.
hiring freezes, it might be difficult to find a job for
Like
workers
loose,
who
you
are
just
either
let as many
already
people
the
in as
workforce or
possible,
workers
right?
trying to enter the workforce.
That's usually what it means.
The American labor market has remained extremely tight following the end of the pandemic.
So many companies had to scale back during the pandemic. And then all at once, companies were able to hire again as their businesses started to move. So you had so many job openings happening all at the same time.
Job openings surged to historic highs, while the country continued to struggle from a devastating labor shortage. With so many plentiful job prospects, even working Americans quit their jobs at a record pace for new jobs, in a trend that came to be known as the Great Resignation.
Smart.
But the job market is beginning to show signs of cooling.
There's less of a frenzy on the part of the employers. If you're somebody who wants a job, you would like a frenzy on the part of the employers
Of
because
course.
you would like to have lots of
Options.
people trying to hire you.
I think one interesting thing about the job market right now is that it is strong, but the hiring rate is low, and similarly, the layoff rate is actually very low.
The layoff and discharge rate in the U.S. has been hovering near historic lows.
Like if I was running a company and it was like a tech company, I would be extremely hesitant to hire hardly anybody because of just how fast technology is moving right now. Because like I feel like every 2 years they have to like completely readjust what's happening with like AI and automation right now. It's crazy. Like it's really, really fast. And so it would make sense that they're just kind of waiting and seeing. Don't you know in Starforge? I mean, no, I mean Starforge is like it's manufacturing primarily, right? Like you're putting things physically in a PC. You can't really automate that as easily as you can automate like a code or something. So yeah, no, I see what you're saying. Or like you can have like, you know, self-checkout. Like it's assembly. Yeah, I mean, it's not necessarily like that. For now. Of course, there's always a for now, right? But like I'm saying right now,
despite the barrage of layoffs reported specifically within the more visible tech and media sectors.
So I think what might be going on here is that employers are hesitant to lay off workers. They're hesitant to push workers out because of their recent experience with labor shortages. But on the flip side, that also means that a lot of workers are sitting tight. They're not quitting. They're not being laid off. And so there aren't as many of those opportunities you would normally expect from attrition for folks who are trying to break into those roles.
Meanwhile, research from LinkedIn found that job seekers' search intensity in the U.S. grew by 27% in 2023 compared to the year before. In 2022, there was one open job for every active applicant on the LinkedIn platform.
Well, that seems pretty easy to solve.
The ratio turned to one job for every 2 active applicants.
Right now in the marketplace, what we're seeing is both employers and employees being a little bit more selective.
With search intensity, I would assume that the frequency of the searches and how in-depth they go, like, I don't know. I mean, there's probably a different, like, you can measure that in like 5 different ways that would make sense.
Everybody's taking a little bit more of a measured approach right now, being a little bit more selective in their choices, and that's why we've seen a little bit of a cooling in the marketplace.
Yeah.
However, experts reassure that the cooling labor market is no reason for concern yet.
It is important to have a perspective that's a little more historical on this. You know, if you're hunting for a job right now and you can't find one, it looks like a lousy job market to you. But compared to your
That's how it's going to be for anybody.
parents' experience, it's a great job market.
I think that sentiment is outcomes minus expectations. So in 2021, 2022, there were labor shortages, companies were hiring very aggressively. And so even if 2024 is shaping up to be a relatively healthy labor market,
I think that he's talking to like a lot of people's parents probably grew up in like the 70s. And I know like in the 70s, like there was like a lot of really bad economic problems then too. And like the, late 70s and shit. So yeah, Jimmy Carter, basically. So I do think that what he's saying does track. I don't think he's out of pocket for saying that. Okay, so? Well, what he's saying is that their situation was also very bad as well.
By recent comparison, it doesn't feel quite as strong.
A cool down in the labor market was also what the Federal Reserve had intended with its series of interest rate hikes.
If you are the Federal Reserve and you want to slow the economy down, that means you want to slow the markets down a bit. The biggest market is the labor market. You know, if you look at what employers do, where their budget is, it's mainly going to labor. So you can't easily cool the economy down unless you cool the labor market down.
Experts also noted that the health of the labor market will largely rely on where the economy is headed next.
If the economy does slow down more significantly in 2024, if we see a recession in 2024, the labor market can be somewhat resilient, but it can't fully buck the broader economic trends. And so that's definitely something we want to watch out for in 2024. It's not a guarantee that the job market is going to remain as strong. Broadly speaking, we might have some optimism about the economy. That doesn't necessarily mean that the job search is an easy process.
I guess the big thing I would say is it's not you. It's not you. It's happening to thousands of other hundreds of thousands of people at the same time.
Yeah.
And it has to do with what's going on in the bigger economy. It has to do with uncertainty, but it also has to do with a lot of quirkiness inside employers about how they handle hiring these days.
It's definitely difficult out there, but I just encourage you not to give up and still keep diving into your network and stay tight with family and friends, just to give you.
I mean, she tried to get didn't she say she applied to like hundreds of jobs? She didn't get a job. I wouldn't take advice from her.
The emotional support, that you might be lacking at the moment, and to give you that confidence that you can do it.
I think that obviously a lot of people aren't looking for a job at all, and so they're not being counted in a lot of unemployment figures. And overall, it makes sense that less people are going to have jobs, because really the amount of jobs that there are for people that don't have like a skilled degree, they're going to be going down because those applications are going to be automated. They already have been in a lot of cases. Like, that's why, like, how many of you guys have gone through a customer support like portal and you've talked to an AI. I've had to do that before. And then, like, if there is a problem, then you get referred to a person. Because, like, they're not really... So this is what's going to happen. Is they're going to use these tools to kind of, like, filter in or filter out all of the super easy solution things, right? Like, I lost my password. Can you give me a new password? Okay, this is a simple thing that a computer can do, right? Here, I'll give you actually a really great example that we all know and that works very well. And also, like, we're talking about something like AI. Really, it doesn't matter about AI or not AI. It's really just having technology that's available that replaces the jobs of people that are working there. So, like, here's an example. In World of Warcraft, do you remember whenever you used to have to ticket a GM to get your item restored? Well, now you don't have to do that anymore because you can just go on the website and there's a list of all the items and you can restore them yourself. So that's a job that GMs had to do, and now they don't do that job anymore. They removed the option. I don't know if they did or not because there are no GMs. It's automation. Yeah, it's just simply automation. And so automation is going to get better, and that's just what's going to happen. And it will remove a lot of people's jobs from the economy. It absolutely will. Depends on the field. Healthcare is looking bleak right now, but you're still generally secure. Essential jobs are always secure. Fast food and customer service and tech, that's dangerous. Well, the problem with this, and this is kind of like what I'm saying, is that, like, you bring up a really good point, is that fast food and customer service, these are jobs that people that are, like, this is my opinion, and this might get me in a little bit of trouble, but this is my opinion. I think that people have a certain level of, talent points, right? Or skill points. And I don't think everybody starts with the same level of talent points. And I think that you can work hard and get a few extra ones, but there's also a certain degree of RNG, of spawn RNG to it. So the reality is that not everybody can be an engineer because not everybody can think like an engineer. Not everybody can think on that level. Not everybody can go and be a doctor and memorize everything and understand all of these different diseases and problems and be able to work with people. It's just not going to happen. And so the problem with, like, removing jobs like fast food and customer service is that there is a tremendous amount of people that exist on, like, that lower quarter of, like, just capacity. And it's like, what are those people going to do? Because those are the jobs that are getting replaced very quickly, because these are just simple, like, I need a person to hit a button. Eventually, they will find a robot that will hit that button instead. And so what do you do with all of those people? Because all of those people, like, it's not realistic to expect all of them to go and just, oh, okay, we'll just go get a degree in law and become a lawyer. And also be a handyman. I think that you guys might not understand, like, being an electrician, being a plumber, like, I've seen the way that electricians and plumbers solve problems. They're not stupid. Like, this isn't like, it is not a job that you sit at an office and you're, like, looking over, like, actuarial tables for. But these guys are not stupid. And I don't think that you can take somebody who is struggling at a call center or something like that, and they can't figure out that. You can't put them in the job of a fucking certified electrician and expect things to go well. I really just don't think so. Yeah, they're smarter than college-educated professors I've interacted with. Well, I'll tell you this, right? I've got a friend, Cody, I think it's one of his roommates, is a lineman. Dude was making $98 an hour, sitting on his ass on call, doing nothing, ain't doing shit. But he did have a conversation with me about how some dude got killed on the job, like maybe a few weeks ago, and it's like, you know, this is a conversation point, and so you gotta watch out. But there it is. People thinking blue collar will survive don't understand who's paying for the plumber and electrician. What if they can't pay because their jobs went to AI? Well, I mean, I think that you're definitely right about that, but I think that's really what the issue is that we are always going to have, like, a mass market of unskilled laborers, right? Because there's just people that are stupid and they're not going to get it. Like, you can explain it to them. Like, how many times you guys had, like, played WoW and there's a person that you raided with, and you raided with them for 3 years, and they've been garbage every year. And you can explain it to them, and they don't get it. And like finally, whenever you kill the boss, it's whenever they didn't get the mechanic. It's like you do Mythic Star Augur, they didn't get Grand Conjunction at all during the fight, the boss dies. Thank fucking God. And like, you know, this is like 50, 100 attempts in. It's like, oh my God, you still can't figure this out. How can you deal with this? Or they're not there. Yeah, they put in the work to have those positions. They're smart and they understand they're valuable, much more so than some 8-year degrees. I think that there's a lot of people that are engineers that have 8-year degrees that are incredibly smart, really intelligent, doctors, people that work in finance. But I don't, obviously I'm not a believer of the, you know, like if you work with your hands, you're stupid. Right? I mean, this is, I mean, come on, like these, who's telling you this? A teacher in high school that makes less than like what some of these guys make in a month, in a year, and they're the ones calling them stupid. Like they're saying, oh, you don't want to be a garbage man. Well, why not? The garbage men make more than you do. What is this? So yeah, no, I definitely agree with you with that. I think it's a stupid mindset to have, but definitely I think the big problem is that you're going to have a lot of people that are in these low skill jobs, and what the hell are they going to do whenever their low skill job gets turned into a machine? Like a lot of the people that are working at what do you call it? They're working at McDonald's. Like these are people a lot of times, like at least where I'm at, they barely speak English. Like where are you going to put them besides that? Like after they stop working at McDonald's, where are they going to work besides McDonald's? They're going to go to Wendy's? Well, then Wendy's has it too. You think McDonald's isn't cutting back on humans? I think it is, and that's my whole point, right? Is that McDonald's is a job for people that have like low skill, like low communication skills to work at and to do. But if McDonald's doesn't exist, where do they go instead? And I think it's a huge problem. I do.
You got the full weight of a starbase at your disposal. Our cannon is itching for a target.
Outdoor diners, beware. This surveillance video shows what's starting to look like a pattern of armed robberies at outside restaurants. Police are trying to figure out whether the holdups are connected.
So a new disturbing trend in New York's ever-evolving sea of crime has emerged. And even though police have no leads since the crooks targeting these restaurants all escaped on mopeds, this is the type of crime that happens so quickly and is so easy to pull off that experts say it's only going to get worse.
The thieves are demanding watches, wallets, and cell phones.
The video we're talking about shows men moving around a dining table and scaring people.
Investigators say one of them had a gun, another had a knife. Police say they got away with $200 in cash from the register and 5 iPhones from customers.
Bro, what's crazy about this is like they're not even trying to hide their fucking face. He's just like, yeah, it's me. Yeah.
iPhones from customers.
They're using crimes of opportunity where they're just basically grabbing purses or handbags off chairs and running out.
Surveillance video shows a man toting a gun. He's demanding customers here to hand over their watches and wallets. Detectives are now looking into whether or not the same men robbed customers at Carbone in Lower Manhattan.
Is there one thing in particular that you think is leading to this?
Well, it's a lot of things. It's a lot of the laws that have been passed that have basically tied the hands of the police.
Officers are now required to record the race, age, and gender of anyone they approach.
It slows officers.
Start making your dinner plans.
Why?
Won't take long.
That's so stupid. Who does this?
Down from going to a scene immediately.
Overall robberies are up 5% citywide compared to the same time frame last June.
Oh my God. These are not targeting New York City's restaurants. Yeah.
If you go out to eat in this city, your waiter might be replaced with a robber. Now, the police say they're not sure if these incidents are related, but what nobody's talking about is that all of these incidents are related to the fact that this city does not punish crime. And here, if you steal under $1,000 worth of stuff from any store in town, you'll suffer no consequences because that's...
Why? Why not just put him in jail? I don't even understand this. It doesn't make sense. Why would you... It's so easy. There's no space, then make another jail. But Asmon, they're people? No, they're not. They're thieves. No, there's no way you don't put up. We can't put up with this. How do you let this happen? How do people vote for this?
misdemeanor, which has created a huge problem because for the last year, stores like Macy's have been getting robbed regularly, which is why
if you're down bad so much that you are stealing out of Macy's, bro, this is like, you know, they have these at Walmart for like fucking a hair dye. Nobody voted for this? Well, they need to vote whoever voted for it in or out.
getting robbed regularly, which is why everything inside is now chained to the store itself. And what this means is thieves need easier targets to steal from.
Yeah.
And our money-hungry crooks, they're not looking at stores anymore. Oh no, now they're setting their sights upon the rest of us as we chow down on bagels in the middle of the West Village. Because our phones, wallets, and handbags make us walking dollar signs to these thieves who might even...
Can you carry a gun in New York?
Let's take him out. A new colony has been founded.
No, why not? Because I feel like that's what they should do. Just let people carry a gun. Then somebody tries to rob them, just shoot them. What's the problem? Legally is a different question. Yeah, I feel like this probably isn't going to happen somewhere in Texas. It's a lot less likely to happen. Then criminals would have guns. They already have guns. Didn't you see the video? They're already using the guns. This is amazing.
Lurking among us as if they're just regular people.
Yeah.
Not just at restaurants, but also at the grocery store or
Naturally.
even on the subway, which itself is no stranger to violence and crime, and now looks more like a military occupation zone because of the high levels of police doing bag checks and the presence of the National Guard. Which brings us to the real...
See, that's smart. That's what they should do.
Defense upgrade complete.
Yep, that's right.
reason why we've now got a crime wave above ground targeting restaurants just like this. There simply aren't enough police to keep us all safe at once. In fact, New York City right now has as many police as it did back in the 90s, but the population of the city has grown by...
Oh my god, this guy. They're not even doing anything. There's just a lot of people that are standing around, and the police officer is like, all right, one of you is getting arrested. Who's it gonna be?
You don't have to tell us twice.
Come on, I know there's a reason for, like, who's off parole, somebody's got a gun, drugs. Come on, let's get this done. I got a quota. Just come on forward, yep.
Over 1 million people since then, which is a recipe for perpetual crime. Because when all the crime underground started, every available resource was sent down there to stop it, leaving all of us up here utterly defenseless, easy pickings for criminals who can steal everything we have in seconds.
Well, I mean, the reason why they're defenseless is because they can't carry a gun. Like, that's the reason why it's happening. What are we talking about? Like, yeah, you don't say. Yeah, it's not even a question. Yeah, exactly. But guns kill people? That's the point. Duh. You can carry, you just need a license? Oh, okay. Well, as long as you can carry, that's a good idea.
So here we are at Carbone, a famous restaurant in New York's West Village where thugs recently targeted its patrons who were eating outside. Now, this place has a high-end reputation. It was started in 2013.
I'm sick of this. I'm gonna look it up. Can you carry a gun in public in New York City? Okay. So here we go. All right, now we actually know what's happening. New York prohibits the possession of a loaded handgun outside of the home or place of business without a license. Concealed carry is only legal with a New York pistol license. 16 hours of classroom training. So you can with a license. The Supreme Court ruled on New York City because the way they were not giving out licenses. Wow. Well, I guess now it makes sense.
The item is ready.
Celebrities eat here, and a USDA Prime Porterhouse for two will set you back almost $300. And that's what makes this place an attractive destination for criminals, because they know everyone eating here can afford the food and is probably also dressed to impress.
The video we're talking about shows men moving around a dining table outside, and apparently they're demanding cash, they're demanding wallets. Detectives are now looking into whether or not the same men robbed customers at Carbone in Lower Manhattan.
Jesus.
Allegedly stealing a $100,000 watch. Police believe this could...
So this span of robberies has happened over the last couple of weeks. Before we get into the details of how these criminals operate, as well as the testimony from terrified patrons of all of these places, it's important to understand the one thing in common they all have. First, these are popular places to eat. In fact, so many people want to eat at them that not everybody can fit inside the restaurant. That's why you have these massive outdoor dining sheds.
Well, it's like, no, people do this in games, right? It's like you go outside a dungeon and you farm the mobs outside the dungeon if you don't have a raid. Like, no, I mean, I get how it happens. Like, it makes sense. Like, and it's smart. Right? No, that's smart. People did this in Scarlet Monastery. Yeah, exactly. So because there's like only one of them. They're not as high level. That you don't have to go inside there. Yeah, no, of course.
The one behind you that is pretty much a restaurant in and of itself. Look, it's got air conditioners and stuff in it, tables inside. The bagel shop down the street has people sitting outside. But the issue is, here you are all by yourself on a public sidewalk in the middle of New York City with no police anywhere in sight. And these restaurants and businesses, they don't have security guards. No, it's just you get your food and you can eat outside if you want to, and that's on you. And this is a safe neighborhood, so it's kind of alarming that incidents like this are taking place here. But once you understand...
Well, that's why it's taking place, because why would you... Like, you don't want to... Why would you want to do it in a PvP area? You want to go to an easy area and just get free loot. Like, if you want $200, do you want to work for it, or do you just want somebody to give you $200? I mean, I think they just want $200.
Why these criminals are picking these places out specifically,
Seal
it'll all make sense. Especially when you realize that people eating out in New York City as a big group are utterly distracted and not really thinking about personal safety. But there's a much more frightening reason why criminals are looking to target people specifically on the streets.
Robbery is not on the menu here at
It's easy to get away, yeah.
Sons in Williamsburg, but that's exactly what some outdoor diners got. You can see the customers give up their belongings before the gunman takes off on a scooter. When we
So New York City has a massive moped problem right now, and the thieves, a team of 2, were riding one of these mopeds, which is how they were able to...
See, this wouldn't happen. See, the thing is that if you were able to shoot them when they ran away, it'd be no problem. That's what you should be able to do. I think if somebody tries to fucking rob you and they try to take your shit, you should be able to shoot them. Absolutely. Yeah, it's like, because that would make it stop.
Escape so quickly. Now the drivers will wait in the street with the engine running just steps away from where people are sitting, and then the passenger gets off. And in the video that we're looking at here, the passenger was the one who had the weapon and who went around to each person at that table and asked for their valuables and then got back on the moped and escaped. Now observers say restaurant crime has a lot in common with the other types of moped crime we're witnessing, where thugs quickly approach...
You can't shoot someone fleeing?
Yes, Commander.
In my opinion, if you're stealing somebody's shit and you're running off with it, and somebody shoots you,
failed to place a bid.
Nice shot.
Let's make some mortars.
Got him.
Good day, Commander.
Rip Bozo.
Planet item complete.
Unsuspecting New Yorkers as they're walking down the sidewalk, take a valuable, and then ride off into the night. But you see, that type of crime, it's a crime of opportunity, because you have to be on your bike, riding past somebody who looks like someone that you would want to target. But at a restaurant, there's a whole bunch of people sitting outside with their guard down. It's perfect for criminals in a city that's not willing to protect its residents. On top of that, people at a restaurant, they're sitting down, they're on their phone, they can't get up, they can't run away, and they're dressed well most of the time. And no one at any of these places is looking for trouble. And what's sickening about all this is it is the logical progression of unchecked robberies that happen on the street.
Of course this happens,
restaurants aren't even safe places, which is exactly what witnesses of these events are saying on Reddit. This discussion covers all of this, which is exactly...
Gunpoint robbery at Birds of a Feather. Oh my God.
Ahead slow.
Jesus.
What witnesses of these events are saying on Reddit. This discussion covers all the recent restaurant robberies, and one user writes that it all happened so fast, most people weren't even sure what was happening. On top of that, all of these crimes occurred during dining hours, between 6:30 p.m. and 9:30 p.m. in the evening, which means this crime is different from purse snatchings that happen on sidewalks. These were premeditated attacks, specifically targeting the patrons of expensive, pricey restaurants in expensive, pricey parts of town. The criminals knew what type of customers they were going to encounter in places like this, which is sadly...
Well, yeah, obviously, like, if you're gonna go after somebody, you're obviously gonna go after the ones that have the most money. Like, if you're one of the robbers, do you want to rob a Gucci store, or do you want to rob a thrift store? fucking duh. Like, of course they're gonna do that.
The very reason these places were
it's high
pre-selected
risk.
targets. But just as crimes in places like this look like an escalation over previous types of street-related crime, there's a new escalation that has now started happening with the whole
What's that?
restaurant scene, and it's not happening on the street.
The most recent incident happened here at Birds of a Feather about a week ago. This time, 2 men held up customers dining inside of the restaurant. The men stole cell phones and a watch. Sources tell Pix 11 News.
Look at that. The most recent incident did not happen at a sidewalk seating arrangement. No, it happened inside the restaurant. The thieves just walked out the front door and walked out with everyone's stuff. Which totally makes sense. If you're a criminal and you get away with minor crimes, you're just going to graduate to bigger and better heists. And
Well,
the video
yeah. I mean, if you can steal $1,000, you're gonna try to steal $2,000, and if you can steal $2,000, you're gonna try to steal $5,000. Like, duh. Well, of course. You're leveling
Videos
up.
we're
Yeah.
seeing all show the criminals targeting men who have expensive watches. And if you're a thief and you can get your hands on a watch, that's something very small, very pocketable, and very expensive that you can easily resell. Because in this city, we've got as many jewelry exchanges as we have restaurants, and finding a place where you can pawn that thing off won't be a problem. But there's another element to this new pattern of crime that is extremely alarming and makes it something that it's very hard to defend
What's
against.
this?
Because let's say you're eating over here at this restaurant, or let's say you're inside a nice restaurant. How hard is it to spot someone coming into the restaurant wearing a motorcycle helmet to pick up a delivery order? That is like the most common thing. So these thieves, they can get very close to their intended victims. They can hide in plain sight, blending in with normal.
Well, couldn't they just make it a rule that you can't go inside of the building with any sort of a helmet on at all?
Defense upgrade complete.
Like, that's what I would say. Like, yeah, that's what you do.
Targets in sight.
I mean, it's not even a question like any face covering at all.
Cannon is itching for a target.
Restaurant traffic. They're not even patrons at the restaurant. They just show up with their motorcycle
And
gear.
I know that they wouldn't follow it, right? But that's the point. So, like, if you see somebody coming in there, you know automatically, oh, fuck, this is somebody who's not willing to follow the rules.
Military structure complete.
You see what I'm saying?
Civilian structure complete.
Unlike every other delivery driver, and no one blinks. And this gives thieves who are riding an e-bike or a moped the opportunity to hide and bide their time until the exact moment presents itself for them to commit a crime. And even though most restaurants in town have security, how good are these cameras going to be when the thief is wearing a helmet and you can't see their face? And it's incredibly frightening to think that the next time you're having a meal anywhere in New York City, you could be being cased and spied on as you chow down. But there is something the city could do if it really wanted to take this issue seriously and really wanted to put a stop to it. But as you're about to see, the solution to all of this is so logical and so straightforward that it's never gonna happen in this city, and that's something that should not only disappoint all of us, but should frighten us.
What is it?
Because we're all targets.
What's the solution? More police? Yeah, probably. Weren't these the same police that tried to, like, detain some guy from AMP and take pictures next to his Lamborghini? Wasn't this in New York City, too? Yeah, see, they're busy. They're busy, bro. They gotta take pictures next to cars.
Here we have Ye Old Police Department. This is the Greenwich Precinct, which is responsible for protecting people who were at that restaurant Carbone over in the West Village, but it's about a 15-minute walk. And the sad truth is that New York City just doesn't have enough police to keep everyone safe at once, especially with crime waves taking place in multiple places across the city at the exact same time. Which isn't the kind of thing that matters to anybody until the watch off your wrist is taken when you're out to dinner and you still have to pay the tab because the food ain't free.
We have a staffing crisis going on in the NYPD right now. We lost nearly 3,000 police officers last year to just retirements, police officers leaving the department. Also, we're losing an average of over 200 police officers a month. So by the time we get to that...
That is absolutely crazy. 200 officers leave the police department every single month. And not only does the police department here have monumental tasks in front of it, this attitude of defunding the police is still with us today. And that's why the numbers in the department...
Defunding the fucking police. Oh my god. Oh boy, here we go.
itself are declining, and they're declining at a rate that is so fast, we aren't able to replenish the department with new recruits. And to make matters worse, we're losing experienced veteran officers. Which means not only is our police department shrinking at a time when New Yorkers need it most, with all of these simultaneous crime waves going on, the experience of the department is decreasing, which some say means its effectiveness is also going to decrease.
Well, of course, yeah. If you work somewhere 20 years, you know kind of like what's going to happen. Whereas if you're new, you're not going to have that same type of insight. I mean, that's common sense, man. Yeah, the experience is dropping. Yeah, that's the way it is for anything. There are places that 100% defund our police and it became a hellhole. Yeah, no, I mean, the people that say defund the police usually live in gated communities. The people that are actually in like a lot of these poor communities outside of the ones doing the crime are not defund the policers, okay? Like, they know they need the fucking police. It's always, you know, upper middle class people that think they have some kind of solidarity with, like, poor people, and so they want to take their right to safety away from them. They're like, oh, we're going to try to help you. We're gonna make your life better. You're not going to get arrested anymore by these mean police officers. It's crazy, man. First Amendment auditors going to have a field day with it? Yeah, I mean... People don't get why we have police? Well, that's because, and the reason why they don't get it is because they live such sheltered, privileged lives that they've never needed police. It's never been a problem. Like, because, you know, for them, they live in a nice place and it's homogenous. There's no issues. Everybody has, you know, is well off. It's all right. And so there's not a lot of crime.
The item is ready.
Precincts across the city where we would normally turn out 6 to 8 patrol cars. Right now, we're turning out 2 to 3 patrol cars in those communities on a given tour.
So what does that do to the safety of the community?
Well, I wonder.
The response times continue to rise. That is the reality of policing right now.
Yeah.
So some precincts are down from 8 patrol cars to just 2. That's a 75% reduction in available patrols. How is that not a recipe for more crime in pretty much every area of town? Less
Well,
police.
yeah, I mean, if I was a criminal, I'd be like, bro, like, new patch. We got a buff. Like, let's go. Let's start farming.
This means response times are going to go through the roof because as crime becomes more common, police are now stuck choosing which incidents to respond to first, meaning your watch getting stolen at a pricey restaurant might come in behind something much more serious. And what's incredibly frightening about this is that our criminals, they're not defunding themselves. No, they're expanding their operations in light of the lax security that happens whenever the police divert resources from one crime wave to try and deal with another. And what makes this even more frightening is the proliferation of weapons. So not only are the thieves becoming more numerous and
New York City migrant shelters under scrutiny after accused cop shooter claims gun smuggling chain. Jesus Christ. Maybe this is a mean thing for me to say, but what the fuck are you doing making migrant shelters if you can't even protect the people with your police? Like, what kind of a priority is that? You've got shelters for migrants and you can't even afford police? How the fuck do you do that? What kind of priorities is that? It's insane.
Emboldened, they're also becoming more heavily armed week by week. And you know how they're smuggling the guns into shelters? They're using delivery bags like this one right here. Apparently the shelters have metal detectors, but they're not actually scanning to see what's coming in the food packages. Does that mean there's a direct connection between all of this crime and the asylum crisis? Well, no, not necessarily, but it does mean there's a direct connection between the apparati that are supposed to keep us safe falling apart and increased crime. And the reason this disaster is unfolding upon us is not only because the police are shorthanded, it's also because our laws force them to fight crime with one hand tied behind their backs. And the latest example of all this is the How Many Stops Act, which is now in effect in New York.
Officers are now required to record the race, age, and gender of anyone they approach.
It slows.
This is really something special, man. This is amazing. Wow.
Officers down from going to a scene immediately. But the other side of it is...
Okay, now, critics say that this is essentially a paperwork requirement that slows down law enforcement when we need more law enforcement faster, not less law enforcement slower. But proponents say having police record this information is important to make sure that law enforcement is happening in a fair manner for everyone. Now, whether or not you think...
can't you just do that with a body cam? Like, I mean, I feel like, yeah, it's important to know that, but, like... If somebody's committing a fucking crime, it doesn't matter what they are. Like, yeah, don't you have a body cam? What the fuck?
This policy is a good
body
idea.
Body cam doesn't capture age? Yeah, but neither can a person. You can't capture somebody's age one-to-one. Like, there's no way.
Besides the point, because in a city with a short-handed police department, you've got to pick and choose what things you have your limited resources do. And the more time police spend using apps on their phones, the less time they have to stop crime. And as we just heard, many departments are short-handed right now, and if they've only got 2 patrol cars on the street and one of those patrol cars is busy filling out apps on their phone, there won't be enough cops to keep people safe.
Former NYPD Lieutenant Darren Porcher is concerned about delayed response time and the data itself. We reached out to the NYPD for a response. A spokesperson says the department has put in place policies, training, and technology to comply with the law. Officers will be using forms on...
Now, of course, this is just
I mean, here's the thing, though, right? Is like the people in New York probably voted for this, or they voted for the person who voted for this. So, like, at a certain point, I don't really feel that bad for them. Because, like, you wanted this. This is what you get. That's right. It's their fault. Yeah. That's right. I'll do it again. Yeah, you chose this. And so don't go crying about it, because this is what it is. You made it happen. They did it to yourself. Yeah, exactly. Oh, my God. Yeah, defund the police. Well, it worked. There you go. Or they're uninformed. Yeah, then they're just stupid. But these people move out, then they vote for the same shit somewhere else. Yeah, I know.
An example of a law that might hamstring police in the event of an emergency. But the thing that's crazy about this is all information, all of this demographic information. It would all be available in the event of an arrest. This applies to people who the police stop in a normal interaction. For example, if the police come out of the bomb squad department over here and they want to talk to me and it's an official stop, they're going to have to put my information to the best of their ability into this new system, which will be publicly available, apparently. But then the question becomes, if I'm not arrested for anything and there's no suspicion of guilt and I haven't committed a crime, what is the ultimate value of that? And there are fears that activists will use that information.
Well, the implication is that the reason why they have it is that there's basically a assumption that people that are minorities and part of others, like protected groups, get stopped more often. So I assume that this practice is supposed to like quantify whether that's happening or not. That's clearly why it's happening. I'm not saying it's good or bad, but I think that's the reasoning.
To further scrutinize our short-staffed NYPD, which could lead to more investigations that lead to nowhere and more oversight that is unwarranted in a time of increasing crime.
I also worry that there's just a general mentality, a lack of appreciation for police officers.
Well, I think the communities really support the police. It's the politicians that are enacting these laws that tie the hands of the police and put the public and the communities in harm's way.
Yeah, that's probably true.
You don't see this.
So ultimately, there's nothing wrong with a system that increases the transparency at which a public institution like the NYPD does its job. That's a good thing. It will help keep the city safe. The problem is the resources to do it aren't included with the plan that says it needs to get done. And right now, the police resources that we have are stretched so thin that the moment there's a crime wave in one part of the city, it pulls the resources over here, and then another crime wave pops up over here because the criminals saw an opening. Do you see what's happening? The police are playing whack-a-mole with our crime waves. That's why they're impossible to stamp out. That's why we went from having a crime wave in the subway below where I'm standing to a crime wave up here at our restaurants. And you know what?
I think what that proves, though, is that police presence reduces crime. Because I bet now in the subways there's a lot less bad shit that's happening. It's because people don't want to fuck around whenever there's 3 police officers standing around. It's a huge deterrent. And I know that people like to act like, oh, no, it's not. People are going to commit crime anyway. No, they won't. Like, trust me. People absolutely, with all crimes, 90%, probably 99% of criminals make a... They take basically, they make a value judgment. Is it worth it for me to commit this crime? That's why you don't see, like these thugs and these people that are like robbers they're not robbing police officers. Do you want to know why? Because there's a high chance they're not going to win the outcome. They're not just doing this randomly. They're making educated decisions based off of the highest possible opportunity versus the lowest possible risk. The same as anybody would.
Once they get rid of this,
risk-reward
then
assessment.
crime is going to go right back into the subway. That's exactly what's going to happen. Now, are the police perfect? No, they're not. Do they always do their job fairly? No, but they are the protection that the law-abiding have when we're at a restaurant between us and the criminals who want to ride up on the street on a moped with a weapon and try to take our belongings and possibly harm us. And that's very frightening. It's very frightening to think that we don't have the backs of the people who are supposed to have our backs. What kind of system is that? Of course it's going to be dysfunctional. Of course it's going to lead to crime waves. Is that what's happening? Is that why we've got crime in the city? Let me know. How would you fund the police in New York, or are they funded too heavily? Should we restrict their funding? Let me know what you think. I'll see you in the next video.
The problem is that there's a lot of instances of police officers that act unprofessionally, and they don't get disciplined in a way that is comprehensive. Like, people aren't like that mad about it. They don't get pissed off about it that much. It happens all the time. Yeah, right? And so people don't get in trouble, and then guess what happens? Well, then that's like, let's be honest. Then everybody sees that and they say, well, I fucking hate cops, which makes sense, doesn't it? Because, like, if you see some cop that's like, for example, I saw a cop, these two cops were arresting this black guy, and they had his hands behind his back, and one of the cops just, like, straight up punched him in the face. Out of fucking nowhere. Let me see if I can find this.
The item is ready.
Fuck. No, I just tried to search it on YouTube. It seems like it's probably not going to happen. Not YouTube, on Twitter. It seems like it's probably not going to happen. I'm not going to be able to find a clip of it. But, yeah, it happens pretty regularly, right? I mean, like, of course, it's not graphic or anything like that. It's just you know, unlawful display of authority. I mean, that's all there is to it. The big guy took a punch like a champ. Yeah, so y'all saw that video, right? Like, am I crazy? Like, y'all saw this video very recently? Excessive force, right? And so it's like, that dude, in my opinion, should be taken off the police force and on trial for assault. It's not even a question. But, like, the problem is that you have, like, this weird thing where people act like there's sides to this, where, like, there's really not. There are police officers that are bad actors, absolutely, but that's not, like, the norm, right? That's not every single one of them. Which one was this? Yeah, I don't know. Checks on that authority, and people will be less likely to want to defund them? Yeah, exactly. So, like, that's the problem, is that there aren't really, there's not accountability for, like, these different guys, and so that's why people hate them. 2 week suspension and pay punishment? Yeah, exactly. There's the video right there. Give it a like. This is, I think this is a huge issue. Like, I mean, if you don't have police, bro, like, that's bad. I don't know how, bro, like, after seeing all the crazy shit that happens in New York, it really is no surprise that Gotham City is based off of New York. I mean, New York's turned into a PvP server.
2 people in custody tonight after the FBI search of a Diamond District pawn shop.
The 2 men had been buying stolen luxury items from South American theft groups and then reselling them at their store.
So the owners of this store right here are in FBI custody for allegedly working with a South American robbery crew to sell stolen items.
Wow.
Some of which were taken from the homes of professional athletes and other wealthy individuals all across America by a gang of Chilean immigrants residing in the U.S. illegally, living out a twisted
man.
Ready for battle.
Isn't that nice?
version of the American dream with the alleged help of an American business.
How you guys doing?
Body camera footage showing 4 Chilean nationals being questioned by authorities last month in Ohio. And in the trunk, a Louis Vuitton bag.
Where are you guys headed to today? Orlando? Wrong way. Florida's that way.
Your words do not resonate. For now, it's a no.
Oh, a bunch of fucking retards. It's a Chilean. I'm fucking disgusted, bro. Everybody knows that everybody from Chile isn't like this, okay? Like, that's just some people on some racist bullshit. I think that. We know that you just had a few of your roaches show up in our country to do some dumb shit. Nobody's blaming you.
Nijinsky and Juan Villar are accused by federal prosecutors of
That's
regularly serving as fences for South American theft groups. Their Diamond District pawn shop raided Tuesday.
Someone is trying to break into the house right now. My daughter is there. This is Joe Burrow's house.
Federal prosecutors say the thieves made off with roughly $300,000 in luxury items, including watches, glasses, piles of cash, and Louis Vuitton luggage.
Jesus. These are, wait, and they're taking photos of themselves?
The item is ready.
What is with all the self-snitching?
Alleged gangbangers also posed wearing the NFL stars JB9 and number 9.
No way, they take a photo.
And chain necklaces.
I have to say, this is kind of a power move though, right? I mean, at a certain level, I kind of respect it. I do. You got balls to do this, right? Like, yeah. I mean, it's self-snitching, yeah. But it's a power move. Now, it's not a good power move, but it is a power move.
They come here almost exclusively to commit and engage in criminality.
I feel like my privacy has been violated in more ways than one.
Prosecutors say in their search Tuesday, investigators found large quantities of suspected stolen property here at the pawn shop, as well as from a storage facility in New Jersey, where they also found sports memorabilia and power tools that are commonly used to open safes.
These are the individuals that wake up every day with one intention, is to commit as many crimes as possible to make money in any way possible.
Yep.
So evidence links one of the thieves busted robbing a football player's home to a pawn shop in Midtown Manhattan.
So they're just selling it right back to the pawn shops. That's how it happens. Self-snitching? Yeah, it is. It's not so much a power move as an indictment of the weakness of the justice system. Yeah, there's a little bit of that too, right? Yeah, a little bit.
Nobody's talking about is this FBI bust reveals a shocking level of cooperation between illegal criminal gangs and New York City businesses that look and appear legitimate. And with one of these operations taken down right in the heart of Manhattan, you've got to wonder how many other predatory businesses like this are hiding in plain sight, especially when crime statistics show New York City has experienced an astronomical rise in moped-related snatch and grab robberies over the last 2 years. An 8,000% rise to be exact, with criminals stealing watches, purses, bags, and other valuables from unsuspecting victims in some of the city's richest neighborhoods. Which
it makes sense, right? I mean, like, if you're gonna go, like, I mean, how many of you guys want to farm a dungeon that doesn't have any loot in it? I mean, it makes sense they're gonna go do that, but it's just crazy that they're here to begin with, right?
Last summer, when thugs approached customers at restaurants, forcing them to put their Rolexes in pillowcases before speeding off without getting caught. But it doesn't stop there. The city also saw a rise in robberies in Central Park and in Midtown by Times Square. And when you combine those with the out-of-control shoplifting epidemic we're experiencing, a troubling picture starts to emerge of a city flooded with so many illegally stolen items that they're now being sold openly at stores on the side of the street. And that brings us to the real reason why this bust is so important. It exposes a highly profitable industry that, when combined with New York's sanctuaries...
This is what I was saying before about how, like, the businesses that are, like, enabling this need to be the ones that get fined for it. Because, like, not only are they doing this, but they're making money off of it, too. They're the ones that are making money off of these clowns, and they're paying them, and they're enabling this entire thing to happen.
City status acts as a magnet to bring the world's worst criminals to our city, where we not only allow them to hide from the federal government while they live in taxpayer-funded homeless shelters, but also the opportunity to be the worst versions of themselves, all thanks to New York's decriminalization of petty theft and assault, which, as you're about to see, has created a pipeline of products stolen from the law-abiding and then sold on the streets of New York in broad daylight.
Of course.
This right here is the entrance of the business where this gang was allegedly able to sell off stolen property. And it's right in the heart of Midtown on 47th Street, 6th Avenue.
We buy, we pawn, we sell. You sure do.
Diamond District?
Yep.
I got my wife's engagement
They sure
ring
do.
here. Not at this place, at another place nearby. But the point is, this is an area full of legitimate businesses that have been here for decades. But hiding in plain sight was apparently a criminal operation of proportions nobody ever imagined.
Prosecutors say the men brokered the sale of countless pieces of stolen merchandise taken from across the United States by South American theft groups. The two were allegedly the middlemen, buying the loot from the thieves and selling it at their store. A customer of the pawn shop.
So what's unbelievable about this is that the store on the upper floors here, they're paying thousands of dollars a month to be right here in the middle of Manhattan, but they're selling stolen items from all across the country.
Well, that's why they can pay the $1,000, is they're buying stolen items and then they're selling them. That's the whole reason. That's how it works. Yeah, people steal stuff. That's new. The problem, so the issue with this is that it's like you're always going to have thieves, but having thieves that are from another country, that are nationals from another country, that are illegally here, and the state is unwilling to prosecute or go after them or even investigate the problem, this is a massive unforced error that doesn't need to happen, and it doesn't, like, there's no reason for this to exist.
Before we get into this wild story about how a gang of foreign criminals was able to break into homes all across America, it's important to understand that this collusion of legitimate businesses and unlawful residents of this country is nothing new in America's largest sanctuary city, which is home to over 400,000 people who are illegally residing in the United States. Which creates a big problem. You've got a massive number of people who can't legally work yet need to feed themselves, pay rent, and buy clothing, creating an opportunity for businesses to prey upon these people or to team up with criminal gangs and then prey upon the rest of society.
A gang of Chilean
Exactly what they do.
migrants are accused of snapping brazen photos after allegedly storming Bengals quarterback Joe Burrow's $7.5 million Ohio mansion. The alleged gangbangers also posed wearing the NFL star's JB9 and number 9 chain necklaces. Burrow's girlfriend...
It's shocking to me that, it's like, how can you see these videos and then be like, yeah, sanctuary cities and all this stuff is good. Like, yeah, no, this is great. Like, this is the right side of history, guys.
These guys that were running stolen products up to the third floor of this store right here, they might look like jokers from the photos they posted on social media, but they knew exactly where they were going. They knew how to get in, and this might not be the first celebrity's home.
And that's the other thing is, like, these guys aren't stupid. Well, they are kind of stupid because they're taking photos of it, but they're not really, like, they're calculated.
However, the FBI says that stolen goods from multiple celebrity home invasions were being sold out of this particular business. The full extent to how those items got there has not yet been revealed by prosecutors. But the thing that's odd about this robbery is that these guys had no problem taking pictures and showing off with all their loot. Either this was their first time committing this sort of crime, or they'd done so many home invasions and successful raids that they figured nothing was going to happen to them. And
that's always how it is. Everybody that I know that did shit that you weren't supposed to do, it's when you start taking photos of yourself with things that you stole or things that you bought with stuff that you stole or you shouldn't have. There's always a level of, like, pride. And, like, how many of you guys know this, right? There's, like, some friend that you have that, like, used to be cautious and then they stopped being cautious and then they got. Every fucking time that happens.
Were invincible, and the amount of money they were making probably made them feel unstoppable.
Someone is trying to break into the house right now. My daughter is there. This is Joe Burrow's house.
Investigators say the two men are linked to a nationwide burglary ring targeting the homes of high-profile professional athletes. That includes Kansas City Chiefs stars Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, NBA stars.
So what happened here is absolutely wild, and the details are incredibly shocking. Not just how the goods were stolen from this person's home, who did the stealing, and how they were offloaded right here, but this is not the only business in town which apparently has a no questions asked policy when it comes to buying things that walk in the door from people who might be criminals. In fact, everything that can be stolen...
Seems like a very beneficial policy for them.
Gets stolen and resold here. You've got bodegas selling stolen food, clothing stores reselling stolen items from places places like Macy's. And if you're curious about how these gang members might have met these people, well, there's a whole bunch of stores here that all say they're willing to buy valuables that might be secondhand. These criminals could literally have just gone up and down the block with a briefcase full of stuff, showing it to people until they found a willing accomplice. And the crazy thing is, it looks like they would have gotten away with their heist if they hadn't done something really stupid.
Body camera footage showing 4 Chilean nationals being questioned by authorities last month in Ohio.
Where are you guys headed to today? Orlando? Wrong way. Florida's that way.
The man in the front passenger seat wearing a Cincinnati Bengals beanie, Burrow's team, and in the trunk, a Louis Vuitton bag. And
how are you gonna wear his hat?
The strength of the coalition.
You're gonna break into his house wearing his hat.
Ready to pack a punch. Our shields are down.
That is a level of disrespect.
Planet item complete.
Oh my God.
a shirt from LSU, where Burrow played in
a traffic stop. These guys were brought down by bad driving. Their car was full of stolen belongings, and the officer asked them where they were going, and they said, "Oh, we're going to Florida." And the officer's like, "Guys, Florida's that way." And this is crazy. They had $300,000 worth of valuables from this guy's home. The homeowner...
What a bunch of retards. And how'd they even get pulled over? I bet they're probably speeding. They had a headlight. Like, how do you, if you're driving with a bunch of stuff that you shouldn't have in the car, you need to be, bro, you have to be checking every tail light, making sure every, like, inspection is there. Like, because they're not going to just randomly pull you over usually, right? Like, and also another thing is that you're done, because, like, this is on the highway, right? And so if you're on the highway, that means you let a cop run up behind you and run your plates, because that's how they get you, is that they go up behind you, the police cars have a plate reader, the plate reader hits the numbers, it says, uh-oh, look at this, and that's it. So they're the fake plates, maybe they might have fake plates, right? Exactly. And so anyway, stolen vehicle maybe? Then that's really dumb. That's crazy stupid. If you've got a stolen vehicle, you're doing that. So, like, this is insane. Yeah, you gotta be checking all the money. Exactly, like, you can't even get that straight. It's embarrassing.
Assigned to a 5-year, $275.
You never let a cop pull up behind you like that. You always go to another lane, take an exit off. If they're coming up behind you, you've got to go to, like, do something, slow down, speed up, do something to where they don't get behind you and read your fucking plates. Fucking obviously. How do you not think like that?
Military structure complete.
$5 million contract, which had a $40 million signing bonus, so he's incredibly wealthy. And apparently his home had security guards there, but these guys got in when the shift changed, revealing an incredibly high level of sophistication to this raid. And apparently they had planned this out in advance. They did not just show up, break the window, and steal whatever they could find, not knowing whose it was. Yeah. Apparently, the authorities found photos of the home in question on their cell phones that were taken prior to the break-in. And then they discovered something
embarrassing
else that tied them to the owners of this business right here.
There were 4 men arrested for that. And
like you even have the phones. Like, I mean, you don't. You can buy a phone for $50. You can buy a smartphone for $50. Like,
to federal prosecutors, one of the defendants, Djinsky, his cell phone is connected to the 2 men who were arrested in that case. So that was the connection to Joe Burrow. They're still trying to sort out all the victims.
I'm not talking about like a burner. I'm not talking flip phone. I'm talking about like a fucking, like, you can buy a smartphone for $50. You can buy a good smartphone for $50. You can do that right now at Walmart. You can buy it with cash. You don't have to give an ID or anything.
You don't have to tell us twice.
This is embarrassing. Well, how do you get caught? Well, good is debatable. No, it's a high quality phone.
Identify the property in this case.
Wow. I think it's either a Samsung or there's like maybe, I think it's T-Mobile. I think it's actually Samsung that sells one.
That is way more than some casual relationship. The people who ran this business were in direct contact with this gang that was out robbing celebrities' homes. And that could mean one of two things. It could mean that the owners of this business have the cell phone numbers of a lot of people who bring them expensive stuff. After all, there's a lot of businesses on this street that have rare and expensive things. And the last thing you want is for your customer to be standing outside your front door with a briefcase full of this stuff in New York City. It would be incredibly bad for business if one of your customers was followed and tracked down while making a delivery. And if you're headed to a New York City pawn shop or jewelry exchange and you get there and the door's locked, that could be a big problem. So maybe the cell phone connection, not that big of a deal. Or it could mean that these guys were in cahoots and they were in contact with these criminals as
they're doing the transactions at the business?
Military structure complete. Place your
They don't even care.
Civilian structure.
Bro, they don't even give a fuck. Like, this is embarrassing.
Another structure is in the way.
How is this? Oh my god. Max level efficiency? It is. It's super. I don't understand. This is crazy. It's been like this for 15 years.
Our fleet is under attack.
Your face on the hat.
Premeditating which homes they were going to hit up. Only time will tell, however, if a business gets busted reselling knowingly stolen merch, which they may have helped the criminals steal, they could be going away for a long time. But even if they do, as we touched on earlier, the criminal element that is stealing all of this wealth is still going to be out there, which means the opportunity to profit from the sale of all those stolen.
Well, if they're doing business with these individuals and they're not doing proper vetting of the things that they're buying, that means that they're the ones who are really benefiting from these illegals being in the country. Like, these illegals obviously get money out of it, etc., but they're getting peanuts compared to what these pawn shops and these other places are getting. They're the ones, like, they're the Kia boys, right? They steal a Kia for $50. Well, somebody else takes the Kia, robs a bank, and they make 10 grand. That's really the people making the big money.
Military structure complete.
As long as you know the cashier, leave without signing. I mean, like, I'm pretty sure that I don't know enough about pawn shop. I thought you had to sign something if you sell something to them that's over a certain amount of value. Is that not true?
That's more like it.
You do, yeah, because it's like over $1,000, right? It depends on the state. You do in Texas.
Civilian structure complete.
Uh-huh. Right. That's what I thought.
Military
you have to give ID.
Complete.
Yes.
Yes, Commander.
It's over $100.
Civilian structure complete.
Items will still be there as well, and the opportunity to make money supplying these criminals with the one thing they need to do their dirty work, that's not going anywhere either.
You get to 99. No, that's a tax form.
So criminals, gang members, thugs, there's a lot of people like that living in New York right now, and they need to arm themselves to get up in the morning and go about doing what they're here to do, which creates an opportunity for people in possession of things that are banned to sell them and make a lot of money because they've got a lot of customers who need those things to go about accosting others, stealing, robbing, home invading, etc. And sadly, this criminal opportunity has attracted people to New York who are just the absolute worst of the worst.
These are some of the worst criminals suspected Tren de Aragua gang members, allegedly making money selling guns on the streets of the city. But they had no clue they were selling to undercover NYPD officers.
Good day, Commander. Military structure complete. Control group created. We'll see it done. Good day, Commander.
Wow. When Trump said they're not sending their best,
military structure
I didn't know how right he was.
Easily done.
I didn't even understand that.
You got the full
That's incredible.
Star base at your disposal.
Police Commissioner.
So in New York, you've got so many criminals that one gang can make money arming other gangs who make money using those things, stealing and exploiting the rest of the city. And apparently this recent gang bust saw 10 members of the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua all busted for selling weapons. And apparently these criminals had quite an arsenal of fully automatic devices, and they were also in the United States without permission. But apparently they were making money supplying New York's growing criminal underworld.
Which is stupid. Like, why would you even have an automatic weapon to begin with? Like, unless you're fighting other gangs, you're never going to need that. You're breaking into houses that nobody's there in the first place. It's just stupid.
With the tools of its trade, and they only came here because this is a sanctuary city with soft on crime laws and a defunded police force. Something that's pretty obvious to see when you look at the statistics around moped crime and how it's exploded here, with snatch and grab robberies in this city going from non-existent to a daily occurrence. But apparently arming an ever-growing population of criminals here locally wasn't enough for these guys, and they were exporting their operations to other states.
Kat says their criminal activity includes other crimes reaching further than the city.
And included Connecticut, Pennsylvania, Texas, Florida, Colorado.
When confronted during a buy and bust operation, the NYPD says the gang members put up a fight. Still, detectives...
So these guys, apparently, they didn't want to go down without a fight. The police knew coming into this that these were violent criminals. But it gets...
That's crazy. They're actually going to go against the police, too. Jesus. Hey, Texas, were you a supporter? No, bro, like, absolutely not. Like, I don't support this shit at all.
Even worse, because look at this. One of the guys that they took down has prior arrests for weapon possession.
Wait, so he has prior arrests, but I thought he wasn't supposed to be here.
Military research complete. Mining upgrade.
Now that's incredibly serious. Weapons are no joke here. You're not even allowed to have them in certain parts of town. And if you get caught with an illegal one, that's a felony, which is supposed to come with prison time. Yet this guy somehow still had his freedom. He was living life as a criminal without a care in the world. And what kind of backwards message does that send to people who want to come here and be dangerous? We got signs all over Midtown, where I'm at right now,
Didn't they read the sign where it said you're not supposed to have a gun? You're telling me he didn't listen to the sign? What the hell is this?
You can't have weapons, yet when people get caught with them, nothing happens to them. That's why you've got
no, but they have the thing with like the gun, and then there's a circle around it with a line over it. It says no. You don't need to read it.
That are here selling them illegally, and that's why you've got people that are using them to commit crime all over town, and apparently also in other parts of the country where they're invading the homes of wealthy.
I think that he was just breaking the law intentionally. I think that he didn't respect the law. I think that's the truth. He didn't care what the sign said.
Rob them and then sell whatever they stole on the streets of New York.
Tren de Aragua, or TDA, is a violent gang from Venezuela. On social media, police say they display their criminal enterprise and how they're expanding day by day here in the city.
They come here almost exclusively to commit and engage in criminality.
So there you have it. These gangs, these criminals, they didn't get here by accident. No, they came here because this is the perfect place
It would logically make sense, right? Because, like, there's not a lot of... Like, I would assume that a lot of the, like, agriculture jobs would be, like, much further down south. Like, New York is fucking cold. There's snow here. So, like, what job are you gonna do? So you're gonna come into America. You're probably coming through Mexico. Like, I mean, maybe not, right? But in a lot of cases, I would assume through Mexico. And you're coming in here, like, and you go all the way to New York. Like, bro, you're going there to do something specific. Crime tourism? Yeah, exactly. Canada too? Yeah, but like, it would make sense that more people would be coming from Mexico. But you're right, Canada, of course, is going to have some.
do what they want to do. And based on what our country's learned about some of these gangs, like this Tren de Aragua, everyone should have seen this coming. Because this one group in particular, they are human exploiters. Yeah. It underpins every single crime they're involved in. And asylum seekers in New York City shelter.
I find the most incredible thing to me about this, above everything, is the fact that it's done so brazenly with absolutely no consideration of like, am I going to get in trouble or not? That's what's so shocking to me about this. It's that it's not that it's happening. Of course it's happening, but that people are doing it in plain sight and they don't even care. Like, they don't give a shit. Like, they're just doing it. That's how it is in South America? I don't know about that. People actually defend this? I don't know.
There's reported being approached by gang members demanding that they join their gang and start committing crimes. Saying no would result in someone being branded an outsider. A fate nobody living in a government-funded homeless shelter that bans police from entering wants, because in these places the only morals come from the criminals that have taken them over. And of course these aren't the only criminals that have come here because of what New York City...
You can't expect the migrants to hold each other accountable. It's not their job. Number one, it's the police's job, and number two, it's like, yeah, if they get taken over by, like, I don't really in a lot of places like fault the citizens for like having extremism inside of their country, because the extremists, if you don't cooperate with them, they'll kill you, right? I mean, that's, of course they're gonna do that.
People get away with. We've got this theft ring of criminals from Chile who were here to do business and sell things to corrupt establishments that have a legitimate presence in this city. And we know that terror watch list suspects were apprehended at the U.S. southern border over the last few years and then disappeared into the country. This is incredibly frightening. And all of this crime and lawlessness is enabled by sanctuary city policies that bar the police here from cooperating with ICE. And when you stack on top of that...
Oh my God. How do people put up with this shit? This is shocking.
That our lax justice system, this entire place is just a playground for criminals to learn and perfect a trade they should never be engaged in the first place. What do you think about that? Are New York City's rules the reason we've got budding criminal empires sprouting up all over the place here?
Of course they're the rules.
Let me know. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.
Adam 20.
I cannot fucking believe that people put up with this bullshit. How do people put up with this? It's a PvP server, yes. It's shocking. Chile is the only South American country currently within a visa waiver program where technically they allow criminals to enter legally as tourists. Now an entire country is at risk to lose its benefit because some losers think they can outsmart the police. Well, none of this would have been a problem if the police were able to go after them in the first place. And that's the issue. It's that, yeah, you're right. There's a lot of guys from Chile who probably want to come to the U.S. and there's no problems, right? It's not an issue. I think that's probably the vast majority. But you've got a couple of problem boys doing this, and now everybody's losing their fucking mind. Yeah, crypto scams or migrant burglaries, pick one. I would rather have crypto scams because everybody opts into a crypto scam. Nobody opts into a burglary. Yep, so I know this is like just a totally stupid, irrelevant, fucking, like, dumb question that nobody should even be asking. But to the extent that you would ask, that's the answer. That's what I think. So, yeah. Wow. Can you imagine police being proposed, these policies being proposed during the Cold War era? I don't even know. I have no idea. Did they even bother to take fingerprints of any person entering, like, in Asia? I have no idea. Yeah, I don't know. And Democrats create PvP zones and claim to be the victims for others to generate a solution that they complain about the solution. I just think that there's so much dissonance that goes on with this that it's shocking to me that it's even happening. It really is. It's amazing for me to see this. And should tweet this at Trump? Yeah, I should. Somebody needs to figure this shit out. It's embarrassing, man. It really is. And I can't believe that people in New York, there's enough people in New York that are okay with this, that they keep this policy going. Yeah, it's insane. Bro, why are the Finns spawning on these? What do you mean? Oh, yeah. Crypto is for sure stealing for smart criminals. Yeah, exactly. And Trump would love to go after NYC. Well, I think they should. I mean, I think they should go after like any of these like sanctuary cities things. I think it's outrageous that it's even a reality. It even exists in the first place, right? Like I do. I think it's ridiculous. People like AOC are the ones defending it. I just can't see how you can defend this kind of stuff and think that it's anything other than bad. Like I don't see it anywhere. Sanctuary cities should be unconstitutional. I mean, I'm in shock that they're not already. I mean, I'm really, I am. Like, I don't see how it even exists. So, yeah. Can't the federal government do something? I don't think so, but I'm not sure. Asma Nuxnor video about Hassan today was insane. I haven't seen that. Yeah, I have no idea. Remember the AOC clip saying that they are shoplifting bread? Well, if you're this is the thing, is that like it's again, it's an emotional argument that immediately falls apart under any sort of logical inspection. If you're stealing